Uchiha Madara's journey through the worlds. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76. The battle ends. A cool breeze swept through the air, bringing Yunlan Yanran back from her daze. Responding, she instinctively tried to recapture the swiftly hurtling lightsaber. However, with her current strength, even wielding the wind extreme was a struggle, let alone controlling it with her arm. Therefore, she could only watch helplessly as the long sword, carrying an overwhelming, oppressive force, like a blazing sun, slammed down upon Xiao Yan in the square. Her pretty face paled slightly as she gazed at the swiftly hurtling sword, her mind a tangle of emotions. She knew too, that she harbored a soft affection for the young man named Yan Xiao, a man of unassuming appearance yet possessing impressive strength, and a certain competitive spirit. These complex feelings had led Yunlan Yanran to abandon her usual calm demeanor and adopt a gentle warm demeanor during their conversation. Although her time with the rock owl wasn't particularly long, Xiao Yan, using this identity, recklessly displayed his remarkable abilities, constantly astonishing everyone. He wielded strange fire to heal a brand of poison that even the Pill King Dou Qi couldn't cure. He distinguished himself among the elite alchemists from across the nation at the Alchemist Conference, and ultimately, single-handedly turned the tide, creating a miracle in desperate circumstances, and regaining the prestige of the Imperial Alchemist Guild. These heart-stirring feats captivated countless young ladies. Even a woman as remarkable as Yunlan Yanran felt a touch dazzled by the halo of such remarkable achievements. What woman hasn't fantasized about the man she loves, surrounded by the acclaim of the masses? While heroes love beauties, beauties love heroes just as much. Rock Owl's actions that day, defending the reputation of the Gamma Empire's Alchemist Guild, might not have been his original intention, but in the eyes of the people of Gamma, he was truly a hero. Yunlan Yanran, however indifferent and proud, was still a woman, and the young man, bearing the cheers of the crowd, was truly a captivating moment. Thus, amidst the tangled web of emotions, Yunlan Yanran had even briefly felt the urge to reclaim the sword. But when that failed, she suddenly quieted down. Biting her lips, she stared down at Xiao Yan, her eyes as complex and incomprehensible as 1,000 tangled threads. She looked up, calmly observing the glaring light that grew in her pupils. Xiao Yan also noticed the reactions of those around him, but he didn't dwell on it. Exposure was inevitable, and he hadn't considered how long to conceal it. Cyan purple flames slowly rose from his hands. The pressure from the sky pressed Xiao Yan's clothes tightly against his skin. The purple flames flickered, but only the cyan flame swayed in the wind, undiminished. He raised his hands horizontally and then slowly brought them closer. As if sensing the impending collision, the two flames suddenly fluctuated violently, the flames flaring wildly, the scorching temperature rapidly increasing. What is he trying to do? Seeing Xiao Yan's strange behavior, Farmer Dou Qi and others in the giant tree were stunned, their faces filled with confusion. This guy actually wants to fuse two flames together? As befitting a 6th rank alchemist, Dou Qi understood Xiao Yan's intentions after a brief moment of reflection. He was immediately stunned. Is he crazy? He wants to fuse two different flames together? Isn't he afraid of backlash? As a 6th rank alchemist, Dou Qi was naturally well aware of the resistances and incompatibilities between flames. The difficulty of successfully fusing two flames was almost unimaginable. Even Dou Qi himself wasn't sure he had the ability. Uchiha Madara exclaimed in surprise. He hadn't expected Xiao Yan to have such a keen eye for flames, even colliding with his inner flower. Not bad. He had some of his style. But without the power of a Kagutsuchi, fusing two different flames was no easy task. The blue-violet flames drew closer, and fierce ripples of energy continuously surged from the space between them. Occasionally, a flame would burst out and collide, erupting with a thunderous roar that startled everyone in the square. Xiao Yan calmly observed the changes in the two flames. After a brief pause, he suddenly slammed his hands together. Bang, bang. The two flames clashed fiercely, and muffled thunder echoed from Xiao Yan's palms. However, Xiao Yan ignored them, and gently rubbed his hands together. Soul power flashed out of his body like lightning, immediately enveloping the two flames. Drawing on his previous experience, he manipulated them with ease. As Xiao Yan's hands rubbed faster and faster, a faint light suddenly spread from his palms, accompanied by the muffled thunder. After a moment, the thunder stopped abruptly. Xiao Yan exhaled lightly, and his palms gradually loosened. A blue-purple light suddenly shone brightly from his palms. The bright light gradually faded. Everyone's eyes quickly glanced over, and then their faces were filled with astonishment at the blue-purple fire lotus that hovered above Xiao Yan's palms, slowly spinning. Very powerful energy. Sigh. This guy is becoming increasingly unpredictable. His tricks are endless. Farmer's gaze shifted from the fire lotus to meet Jia Xingqian's. They both shook their heads and sighed sympathetically. Since meeting this guy, they had experienced countless jaw-dropping sensations from Xiao Yan. Did it work? Uchiha Madara's lips curled slightly. Although Xiao Yan was still weak, given his natural talent for fire, he could bet on his future. Xiao Yan's palm slowly moved up and down, and the suspended purple fire lotus followed suit. He raised his head, and the pressure from the fierce, fiery sword energy nearly caused Xiao Yan's body to tilt slightly. Slightly shifting his feet, Xiao Yan unloaded the overwhelming force onto the ground. He took a deep breath, then paused for a moment, before snapping his fingers on the fire lotus and whispering softly, "Go, Buddha's wrath fire lotus." As his voice trailed off, the cyan purple fire lotus suddenly flew out of his hand, transforming into a streak of light. Like a meteor, it charged towards the oncoming blazing sun sword with lightning speed. Under the tense gazes of countless people in the square, the two streaks of light flashed through the air, finally, about 10 meters above the ground, colliding fiercely like meteorites. Boom. A tremendous roar echoed throughout Yunlan Mountain. P.S. Xiao Yan's turn is over. Now, it's Madara's turn. Draw a card. Chapter 77 Appearance. A thunderous boom resounded over Yunlan Mountain, a terrifying wrath like the wrath of the thunder god. A fierce wind howled, and a terrifying energy shockwave rippled outward. Strengthen your defenses. Yunling, the Grand Elder of the Yunlan Sect, sensed something was amiss upon first sight of the energy shockwave and shouted, "Yes." Nearly 1,000 Yunlan Sect disciples responded in unison. Their Dou Qi swirled above them, then intertwined to form a Dou Qi shield encompassing half the square. Many powerful individuals also deployed their defenses. Though both were only Grand Dao Masters, the energy shockwave generated by their collision was a force not even a Dao King could underestimate. In the sky, obscured by the intense light, the 3-year agreement was finally resolved. Yunlan Yanran was struck hard by the energy shockwave, her face turning pale as she spurted out a mouthful of blood. "It's over, Yunlan Yanran." Purple wings sprouted from Xiao Yan's back, and he soared into the sky. He struck the now imbalanced Yunlan Yanran with a palm strike, sending her plummeting to the ground like a tattered flower. "Great Elder, what should we do next?" "Yanran has already been defeated," a Yunlan Sect elder asked with a wry smile. Yunling's expression shifted. Yunlan Yanran represented the entire Yunlan Sect, and her defeat would undoubtedly cause a significant loss of prestige. He had to find a way to recover. Suddenly, a voice rang out. "Great Elder. He's the mysterious man who killed Demo Cheng." Yunlan Sect Deacon Jie pointed at Xiao Yan in horror. The story began a month ago. A month ago, Xiao Yan had traveled to the Mo clan in Yancheng, northwest China, in order to awaken Qinglin, the maidservant who had the green snake 3-flower pupils. Mo Cheng was the patriarch of the Mo clan and the man who had abducted Qinglin. Mo Cheng also had another identity, a former Yunlan Sect deacon, which was why Jie was present that day. Even more fortuitously, when Xiao Yan, shrouded in a black robe, used Yao Leo's power to slay Mo Cheng, his true face was visible to Jie. Xiao Yan's face repeatedly overlapped with the one in Jie's memory, causing him to cry out in fear. Below, Xiao Yan produced the engagement contract from that year and gently tore it up in front of Yunlan Yanran. "Yunlan Yanran, from now on, you and my Xiao family will have nothing to do with each other." Xiao Yan drew out his Zuantang ruler, slid it onto his back, and slowly walked out of the square. A voice rang out. "Everyone, the show is over. Go home." Bathed in the afterglow of the setting sun, Xiao Yan's figure appeared remarkably elegant. This was the end of the matter, the best possible outcome for Xiao Yan. The obsession that had lingered in his heart for 3 years was finally resolved at this moment. Xiao Yan's mindset would surely improve after today. But how could things go so smoothly? Uchiha Madara watched Xiao Yan's retreating figure, then glanced at the elders of the Yunlan Sect, his lips curling slightly. He could sense that the Yunlan Sect elders' suppressed emotions were reaching breaking point. Perfect. It saved him from having to make excuses. Xiao Yan, please stay for a moment. There's something in Yunlan Sect that I need your personal confirmation of. Have you heard about the death of Mo Cheng, the outer sect deacon of the Yunlan Sect, a month ago? Yunleng asked gravely, his gaze stern. A whisper erupted among the Yunlan Sect disciples. Mo Cheng's position in the Yunlan Sect was low, but he possessed excellent social skills. That's why the Yunlan Sect had sent a law enforcement team to Yancheng to investigate Mo Cheng's death. However, they found little, only that he was killed by 2 mysterious individuals of immense power. Why did the Great Elder suddenly bring this up now? Could he believe Xiao Yan was responsible? But Xiao Yan was a Grand Dou Qi, while Mo Cheng was a Dowling. The difference between them was as vast as heaven and earth. How could Xiao Yan possibly be implicated in this matter? Uchiha Madara overheard the whispers and glanced at Heibodeng. You did it? Heibodeng's face suddenly changed, puzzled as to why Uchiha Madara knew about this. Seeing Heibodeng's change of expression, Madara understood, raised his lip, and whispered, well done. Heibodeng. In the field, Xiao Yan's heart was beating rapidly, his body trembling slightly, but he slowly turned around and spoke softly. Elder Yunleng, what do you mean by that? Could it be that I killed Mo Cheng? Yunleng pointed to Jie nearby. Jie happened to be there at the time and exchanged blows with that mysterious man. He saw his face during the fight, but it was only a fleeting glimpse, so his memory is a little hazy. Only now can he be sure that the mysterious man was you, Xiao Yan. Yunleng's full might now overwhelmed Xiao Yan, shouting loudly like a fierce ghost. The entire audience was stunned. Most people had heard of this incident, as the 2 mysterious individuals were Dou Huang powerhouses, a rare sight in the Jia Empire. While they could accept a teenage Grand Dao Master, a teenage Dou Huang, no one in the entire Dou Qi continent could possibly achieve such an accomplishment. Elder Yunleng, I'm deeply sorry for Deacon Mo Cheng's death, but evidence is essential for everything. To accuse me of killing Mo Cheng based solely on Jie's one-sided account is a bit ridiculous. Xiao Yan calmly defended himself. Oh, I remember. When that mysterious individual killed Mo Cheng, he used a terrifying white flame. A slightly shrill voice emanated from Jie, his face flushing red. White flame, bone spirit, cold fire. Uchiha Madara's eyes lit up, and he stood up instantly, excited. Heibodeng was startled, unsure of Madara's sudden excitement, but he instinctively sensed something big was about to happen. Madara flipped his palm, and a pale flame emitting a deep chill appeared on his palm. The sound spread out through his fighting spirit and chakra, spreading throughout the square. Is it this white flame? Chapter 78 Provocation. Deathly silence. Upon hearing Uchiha Madara's words, the entire venue fell into a deathly stillness. The current Uchiha Madara was no longer the unknown figure he had been when he first arrived on the Dou Qi continent. After the events of the Jia capital auction, even those in the more informed Jia capital knew of Uchiha Madara, a figure capable of pinning down the 9-star Dou Huang, Jia Xingshan. Being able to pin a 9-star Dou Huang meant that Uchiha Madara was at least a Dou Zhang powerhouse. Seeing Uchiha Madara step forward, countless people were stunned. Mr. Madara, why are you admitting this? Fama asked in confusion. Any normal person would know how to protect themselves. I don't know, but the Yunlan Sect is definitely in trouble today. Jia Xingshan smiled. He had faced Uchiha Madara head on, and because of that, he knew just how powerful he was. And a battle between a powerhouse like Uchiha Madara and the Yunlan Sect, a behemoth entrenched in the Jia Empire, was perfectly suited to his wishes. Fight. The harder they hit, the better. That way, the Jia imperial family could rest easy. Heibodeng's expression was complicated, filled with questions. Why would Uchiha Madara take the blame for him and Xiao Yan? It wouldn't benefit him to offend a behemoth like the Yunlan Sect for no reason. Suddenly, an idea struck Heibodeng. Could it be that he was targeting the Yunlan Sect from the beginning? The more Haeboden thought about it, the more likely it became. Perhaps some powerful faction was trying to extend its influence into the Jaiamar Empire, and was targeting the Yunlan Sect first. If that were the case, all of Uchiha Madara's recent anomalies could be explained. Haeboden shuddered at the thought. Once he was drawn into the conflict between these major powers, even if he was only a Dou Huang, he would be nothing more than cannon fodder against a continent-spanning power. Dan King Gouhi also had a solemn expression. His position as Dan King was built on the resources of the Yunlan Sect, so logically, he was on its side. However, Koga was different from the current Yunlan Sect members. He had witnessed Uchiha Madara's attack in the Tagor Desert. He didn't believe anyone in the Yunlan Sect could withstand a massive meteorite falling from the sky like that. If Uchiha Madara really came to blows with the Yunlan Sect, what would he do? Yunleng's expression was now extremely grim. He glared at Jenny before forcing a smile and looking at Madara. Senior, have we misunderstood? Yunleng couldn't be careless. This was a Daozang powerhouse. One mistake could doom the entire Yunlan Sect. Ha 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 ha. A burst of unbridled laughter echoed, and Uchiha Madara leaped from the tree, arms folded across his chest, his expression proud. Yunleng, ha. The white flame is right here. What else are you looking for? Uchiha Madara said calmly. With a flick of his hand, pale bone spirit cold fire erupted. Simple and direct, this had always been Madara's style. After his death, he confessed without hesitation that he was the murderer. He didn't care whether Xiao Yan had done it or not. His purpose was simple. Since the Yunlan Sect was the most powerful force in the Jaiamar Empire, and harbored a powerful figure who was likely a Daozang, it was perfect for him to consider. Thank you, Madara-kun. Xiao Yan was taken aback by the sight of Uchiha Madara's death, but then murmured his thanks. If he were to face the Yunlan Sect alone, it would undoubtedly be very troublesome. Get out of the way, you'll be in the way here, Uchiha Madara scolded without mercy. Xiao Yan suddenly became speechless. It was as if Madara-kun hadn't been there to save him. No, the person I saw wasn't him, but Xiao Yan, Jerry shouted. Yunleng clenched his fists and trembled all over. If it were anyone else, even a Dou Huang, he would have shown no mercy. But Uchiha Madara was a Daozang, and he couldn't afford to offend him. Jerry clearly saw Xiao Yan, and Xiao Yan did indeed display a white flame when he refined the three-striped azure spirit pill at the alchemist conference. Are you mistaken? Yunleng gritted his teeth. You've been talking too much nonsense. I've already admitted that I killed that Mo Cheng. Now I stand here. Whether you can uphold the dignity of your sect depends on your strength. Uchiha Madara sneered, completely disregarding the faces of the Yunlan Sect in the square. He spoke arrogantly. A bunch of ants. Even if he used his Dou Qi, they wouldn't be able to harm him in the slightest. For a moment, the expressions of the countless powerful warriors on the tall tree changed slightly, revealing anticipation. Today was truly a good show to watch. Meanwhile, in a corner of the tall tree, someone made up their mind after hearing Uchiha Madara's words. Li Yuling, follow me. Dan Wang Gouhi unhesitatingly spread his Dou Qi wings, pulled his disciple Li Yuling aside, and left. Teacher, what's going on? I heard the Yunlan Sect's old leader hasn't appeared in decades. He must be a Daozang too. Two Daozangs fighting each other, you can't be so distrustful of the Yunlan Sect. Li Yuling clearly still harbored hope. After all, after so many years in the Yunlan Sect, he couldn't match Gouhi's decisiveness. Foolish. Will I harm you? Don't let that little girl from the Nalan family charm you. You have a talent for alchemy, and can make a name for yourself in the future, but all this requires survival. Gouhi said with a bitter heart. Even with the kilometer-wide meteorite used that day in the Tagor Desert, he didn't believe any ordinary Daozang could defeat Uchiha Madara. Li Yuling looked at Nalan Yanran reluctantly, then finally nodded. Teacher, I'll go with you. Okay. Gouhi, having received his answer, quickly flew away with Li Yuling towards the foot of Yunlan Mountain. He was a 6th rank alchemist, not one to hang himself on a tree. He could still live a fulfilling life outside the Yunlan Sect. Moreover, after today, whether the Yunlan Sect can continue to exist is still unclear. Chapter 79 Appetizer. Cloud Mist Sect Deacons, listen. Build the Cloud Mist formation. Yunleng trembled all over. He was now in a difficult position, so he could only command. As soon as Yunlan finished shouting, the 100 Cloud Mist Sect deacons atop the giant trees in the square roared in unison. A surge of powerful Dou Qi erupted from their bodies, and a white mist of energy erupted from their palms like a waterfall. Over 100 streams of misty energy intertwined and rapidly spread. In a mere moment, it enveloped the entire square like an inverted bowl. So, Uchiha Madara casually commented after a glance. The faces of the Cloud Mist Sect members darkened. They knew Uchiha Madara was powerful, but they felt bad that their prided formation had been so disparaged. Xiao Yan took this opportunity to step aside, but the Cloud Mist formation enveloped him as well. But Xiao Yan was no longer worried. This was Master Madara. With him around, what was there to fear? Before arriving, he'd heard that the previous leader of the Yunlan Sect might be a Dou Zhang master. Today, he might witness his first battle between Dou Zhang masters. But the next moment, when he saw black, white, and blue Dou Qi wings appear behind Uchiha Madara, Xiao Yan was completely flustered. Unlike the others, Xiao Yan knew Madara's origins. He wasn't from the Dou Qi continent at all. While powerful, he wielded chakra, not Dou Qi. Now, the Dou Qi wings behind Madara, a sign of the Dou Huang realm, had appeared. The reality was crushing him in the face. Xiao Yan felt like he'd been living a miserable life for the past decade. On the field, Yunlan shouted, and the 3 oldest white-robed elders of the Yunlan Sect on the stone platform trembled slightly. After slowly disappearing, they reappeared in a triangle, completely blocking Uchiha Madara's retreat. 3 surges of Dou Qi surged from their bodies, locking him firmly in place with a powerful oppressive force. With a soft shout, the 3 men swirled their Dou Qi in their hands, unleashing similar attacks. Their attributes varied, but their fighting skills were clearly the same. The fusion of 3 different Dou Qis tripled their power, threatening even a peak Dou Huang warrior to be severely injured. With a sneer of disdain, Uchiha Madara turned around. Without resorting to any other tactics, he simply coated his arm with Dou Qi and launched a powerful punch. A resounding bang erupted, and despite Ban's almost reckless action, the Yunlan Sect elder's attack was instantly dispelled. Madara's training in the demonic beast mountains had forged a formidable physique, a formidable force, that even a 6th-ranked demonic beast ape king wouldn't dare confront. So, while it was just a simple punch, it undoubtedly possessed the power of a Dou Huang. The 3 Yunlan Sect elders felt a pang of dismay as their attacks were dispelled by Uchiha Madara's single strike. However, they hadn't experienced the power of a Dou Zhang, which gave them some confidence. Those with more information knew that the previous sect leader, Yunshan, was currently within the Yunlan Sect and had become a Dou Zhang. The next moment, Uchiha Madara unleashed his Dou Qi wings, charging directly in front of the 3 Yunlan Sect Dou Huangs and unleashing a sweeping kick without any fanfare. Though simple, with Madara's current strength, it undoubtedly possessed the power to split mountains and shatter rocks. Seeing this, the 3 Yunlan Sect elders rushed to attack. 2 used Dou Qi to form a barrier to block Uchiha's attack, while 1 simultaneously used Dou Qi to transform into a phantom longsword, slashing down head-on. Cloud falling slash. A high-level Zuan level Dou skill. Bang. Madara's kick impacted the Dou Qi barrier, creating a resounding explosion, before it shattered rapidly, sending the Yunlan Sect elder flying. Simultaneously, facing the oncoming sword energy, Uchiha Madara swung his right hand into a knife-like formation, instantly blocking the blade energy and striking the attacking Yunlan Sect elder, sending him flying. Then, another slash of swords. The last Yunlan Sect elder was also sent flying. Is that all? Pleasure me to your heart's content. Ban looked at the 3 with disdain. He too was using only his Dou Qi in physical strength. In terms of Dou Qi realm, these 3, like him, were Dou Huang, yet he hadn't expected them to be so vulnerable. High in the trees, the powerful warriors exclaimed in amazement, but their exclamations were more complex. This Dou Qi realm seems to be Dou Huang, and the power of each of these strikes is only comparable to Dou Huang. So, how did Jia get knocked unconscious by that single blow that day? The crowd couldn't help but discuss. Old Jia, what exactly happened? Fama asked beside Jia Xingshan. Jia Xingshan said solemnly, his true strength is definitely far greater than what's apparent. The other day I lost consciousness, it wasn't because he attacked any part of my body, but rather my soul. He used his soul power to knock me unconscious. If his soul power were unleashed, it would definitely be at the level of a Dou Huang. However, his frontal combat power is probably only at the level of a Dou Huang. After hearing Jia Xingshan's explanation, everyone looked at the arena with a startled look. But there was one exception, Emperor Heibodon. You underestimate him. Heibodon shook his head. I fought him once before, and his frontal combat power was enough to completely crush me, and I could sense he still had plenty of strength left. His frontal combat power is definitely at the level of a Dou Huang. To be able to defeat a Dou Huang with both frontal combat power and soul power alone was something only a high level Dou Huang could achieve. Upon hearing this, the warriors returned their gazes to the arena, anticipating the true unleashing of Uchiha Madara's power. P.S. Starting from today's chapter 76, it's entirely Madara's story. He's already acquired all the items suitable for him from Xiao Yan, including the burning technique, Azure Lotus Earth Core Fire, Bone Spirit Cold Fire, and Alchemy, surpassing Xiao Yan. This section takes a bit longer. If it were to take on other worlds, he wouldn't have followed the protagonist. However, fighting through this world, he ultimately achieves the status of the Flame Emperor. The core items are the Strange Fire and the Burning Technique, which are perfect for Madara, who loves fire, so it's a bit longer. Also, starting from chapter 76, I personally feel that Madara's language style has become much better, and this is largely due to the readers who offered suggestions. By now, those who initially abandoned Xiao Yan should have been abandoned long ago, which I understand. For those who remain, we are all here because of Madara. Please allow me to give you an even better story. Happy Lantern Festival. Please recommend. Please give me your monthly votes. Chapter 80, an ant trying to shake a tree. At this point, the three elders of the Yunlan Sect, realizing they could not stand up to Uchiha Madara alone, shouted loudly, "Form a battle formation." A wave of Dou Qi emanated from each of the three Yunlan Sect elders, and as a Dou Qi flowed, the three of them became one. The three Dou Huang powerhouses, forming a battle formation, were already capable of fighting a Dou Huang powerhouse. Victory and defeat are commonplace in the military. Uchiha Madara, if that's all you have, then the three of us are more than enough to defeat you. Uchiha Madara's gaze narrowed, but he showed no surprise. He spoke calmly while gathering strength. Victory and defeat are commonplace. That's not what I mean. What that really means is, my victory is commonplace, and your defeat is commonplace too. Uchiha Madara shouted, and his fist, unleashing a powerful force, rammed straight into the center of the battle formation. Even with the Yunlan Sect's three men in formation, they were unable to stop Uchiha Madara's punch, and all three took several steps back. Use fighting skills. The three elders of the Yunlan Sect understood that Uchiha Madara's melee prowess was beyond their reach. So, they combined their auras, using secret fighting skills, to decide the outcome. Fighting skills? I've learned that before. With a single wave of his hand, Uchiha Madara released a torrent of fighting spirit, condensing the surrounding air at high speed. Under the influx of fighting spirit, it transformed into an invisible long sword. Then, with a flick of his right hand, the invisible long sword soared into the sky, radiating a dazzling light like a second sun rising in the sky. Impossible. Yunlan Yanran gasped at the sight, her eyes filled with disbelief. Uchiha Madara's movements were remarkably similar to hers. However, that was one of the Yunlan Sect's most powerful secret fighting skills, Wind of Ultimate Sunset. Even Yunlan Yanran, already designated as the Yunlan Sect's young master, had practiced 4 years to barely master it, and the power she could unleash was barely even 1/10 of the skill's potential. It was considered one of the most advanced fighting techniques within the Yunlan Sect. Uchiha Madara was not a member of their Yunlan Sect, that was undeniable. But now, this person, who clearly had no connection to their Yunlan Sect, had used their secret fighting technique. How could Yunlan Yanran not be surprised? The expressions of the three Yunlan Sect elders suddenly changed, but their movements did not slow down a bit. Their mighty Dou Qi unleashed an unparalleled attack. Falling Cloud Hammer. The Dou Qi transformed into a massive hammer, engulfed in a whirring sound, and swung heavily towards Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara lowered his arm, and with a flick of his invisible sword, a giant sun in the sky fell, shaking the square, and the powerful aftermath of the impact spread outward. Boom. A deafening roar, like a blazing sun exploding. Even Dou Huang masters like Fama, Jia Zingshan, and Hei Bodom could not help but close their eyes and simultaneously employ defensive measures. Thousands of members of the Yunlan Sect, forming a massive formation, diligently maintained their balance, resisting the aftermath. 3 screams rang out at this moment, and when everyone opened their eyes, they found 3 Yunlan Sect elders plummeting from the sky like kites with their strings cut. Bang, bang, bang. 3 muffled thuds echoed as the 3 Yunlan Sect elders spat out blood, evidently seriously injured. Uchiha Madara unfurled his blue, black, and white battle wings, soaring high in the sky, as if looking down upon the Shurus of the mortal world. Yunlan Sect, is this the only strength you have? His words were calm, yet filled with contempt. It was a disdain for the Yunlan Sect. The 3 Dou Huang elders might have been unstoppable forces in the Jama Empire, but for Uchiha Madara, they were far from equal. Without harnessing the power of chakra, simply using his newly cultivated Dou Qi, Uchiha Madara could completely overwhelm the 3 Yunlan Sect members. Moreover, just now, he had no fighting skills at all. A simple outburst of force crushed the 3. Yunling, the Grand Elder of the Yunlan Sect, clenched his fingers until they turned white, his face grim. He hadn't expected such an outcome. 3 Dou Huang, empowered by a battle formation, were defeated in a head-on clash by Uchiha Madara, who also displayed Dou Huang power. This was impossible, but it actually happened before his eyes. Unbelievable. In this situation, he had no choice but to take action himself. It's not your turn to judge the Yunlan Sect. Yunling, wings of Dou Qi spread, charged towards Uchiha Madara. Yunling had reached the peak of Dou Huang, his strength rivaling that of the 3 Dou Huangs of the Yunlan Sect combined. But, bang, with a single blow, Yunling was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. His blood and energy surged violently, and he spun in the air, barely able to regain his balance. A loser in the family barks at the sun, Uchiha Madara sarcastically said, without mercy. Clouds and mist covering the sun formation. Only Dou Huang level power could possibly defeat him. Yunling roared, finally unleashing the Yunlan Sect's signature formation. Countless Yunlan Sect disciples paused in surprise, before responding in unison. Wisps of white energy permeated from their heads. A continuous stream of white mist energy rose into the air, nearly obscuring the entire sky, creating the illusion of a sea of clouds. The cloud energy suddenly condensed, solidifying into a white spiraling sphere roughly 10 feet across. It shot towards Uchiha Madara in the sky at terrifying speed. Wherever it passed, a nearly 10-foot long vacuum zone appeared, the air compressed into nothingness. A sharp crackling sound ripped through the very void. Clouds and mist covering the sun formation. The Yunlan Sect's signature formation. The combined might of every member of the Yunlan Sect unleashed a fierce attack. Even a Dou Huang level warrior would be instantly slain by this blow. An ant tries to shake a tree without knowing it. Uchiha Madara's eyes condensed, and 2 black and white flames suddenly appeared in his hands. If you still use the power of fighting spirit, then you have to use this trick. P.S. How is the language style of this chapter? Does it have the flavor of Madara's? Please recommend on monthly tickets. Thank you for the 3000 coins rewarded by Horizon Huayu. Thank you for the 100 coins rewarded by Assassination. Thank you for the 500 coins rewarded by Bookfriend. 201907042247141515. Thank you for the 100 coins rewarded by Xingwang Xiang. Thank you for the 400 coins rewarded by Uzumaki Nagato, and thank you for the 156 coins rewarded by Bookfriend 202202090049233321. Thank you for the monthly tickets and recommendation tickets of countless big guys. Continue to ask for recommendation tickets and monthly tickets. Thank you. Chapter 81 Dou Zong Yunshan appears. The white spiral balls unleashed by the Yunlan Sect whizzed through the sky. The onlookers, including Fama, Jia Zingshan, Hei Bodong, and other Dou Huang masters, wore solemn expressions. They couldn't help but wonder if they could withstand the power of this attack if they were in that position. But they all came to the same conclusion. Even Dou Huang masters must use every possible means to dodge. If hit, they would at least be seriously injured. With this conclusion, Jia Zingshan's eyes focused. Faced with such overwhelming force, Uchiha Madara could no longer hide his weakness, he must unleash his true strength. But the next moment, Jia Xingshan's eyes widened. What did he see? Two flames appeared in Uchiha Madara's hands, one pitch black, the other pale. They were no ordinary flames. Could they be two different kinds of strange fire? What was Uchiha Madara trying to do? Was he trying to fuse two different fires together? He was insane. The power of strange fires was inherently explosive. How could anyone possibly accomplish such a thing? But with a cold shout from Uchiha Madara, the violent forces of the black and white flames collided, merging almost perfectly. The next moment, a black and white flower formed. Flower of Indra. Uchiha Madara shouted coldly, and the black and white flower rushed towards the white spiral ball. A deafening explosion echoed, and the entire Yunlan mountain trembled. Looking closely, the Yunlan Sect's protective formation had been shattered by a single blow. Yunlan Sect's Grand Elder, Yunleng, died instantly, leaving no sound. Nearly 1,000 Yunlan Sect disciples, deacons, and elders groaned in unison, many falling to the ground, their breath failing. Despair filled the Yunlan Sect, and a feeling of powerlessness welled up within them. Yunlan Sect, you truly disappoint me. If that's the case, I see no reason for your continued existence. Madara sneered in midair, and the two flames, Amaterasu and Bone Spirit Cold Fire, reappeared in his hands. He wants to do it again. The remaining members of the Yunlan Sect gasped. The sight of Madara's Indra flower had already left a psychological scar on them. Oh my god, someone could help them. Deep within the Yunlan Sect, a middle-aged man in a white robe with snow-white hair sat conversing with a figure shrouded in a thick black smoke. I didn't expect such a powerful being existed in your Jama Empire. His Dou Qi realm is only Dou Huang, but his displayed strength rivals yours. His soul power must be immense. Go test him first. If you can't defeat him, I'll help you. We in the Soul Palace favor those with such powerful souls. No matter how powerful their souls are, they're useless against our secret techniques, the black-robed figure said with a sinister smile. This man was the Soul Palace's Dharma protector Wu, who had come to the Yunlan Sect to negotiate with Yunshan. The white-robed man was, of course, Yunshan, the former leader of the Yunlan Sect. Since his advancement to Daozang, Yunshan had aged considerably. With the Guardian here, I'm relieved. Yunshan nodded and slowly stood up. Unlike the Yunlan Sect, which only dominated the Jama Empire, the Soul Palace was a truly powerful force that dominated the entire Dou Qi continent. With the Soul Palace's guardian Wu here, it was stable. Deep in Yunlan Mountain, a vast and majestic aura suddenly appeared, like an ancient dragon awakening, with unparalleled pressure. Has it finally appeared? Uchiha Madara's lips curled up with a smile. The powerful pressure spread from the depths of Yunlan Mountain, enveloping the entire mountain in an instant, and it made people feel awe. This aura. Nalan Yanran stared at the depths of Yunlan Mountain, a look of shock on her face. Unexpectedly, today's events would even wake up the master, who had been in seclusion for so long. Oh no, this old fellow isn't dead yet. Heibodeng's expression suddenly changed the moment his aura revived, his low voice filled with undisguised shock. Heibodeng's face was solemn. Although he had confidence in Uchiha Madara, he had never seen a Daozang master in action. It was still unknown who would emerge victorious in a duel between Uchiha Madara and Yunshan. The previous leader of the Yunlan Sect, Yunshan? Xiao Yan's face darkened, his brow furrowing as he recalled the rumors he had heard. This is a bit troubling, Xiao Yan thought to himself. To date, the strongest beings he had ever encountered were peak Dou Huang masters like Queen Medusa and Jia Xingshan. The sudden appearance of a Daozang was a sure thing. However, upon catching sight of Uchiha Madara, whose expression remained calm in the sky, Xiao Yan regained his composure. With Madara here, it didn't seem like a big deal. The power of Madara's chakra had yet to be unleashed. These people had no idea how terrifying Madara could be. With this thought, Xiao Yan regained his composure and slowly gazed toward the sky. Let me see just how powerful this world's Daozang masters truly are, Uchiha Madara whispered, his gaze fixed on the white light deep within Yunlan Mountain. As Uchiha Madara continued his words, the majestic aura emanating from the depths of Yunlan Mountain grew stronger. Finally, a clear whistle suddenly rose to the sky. Under the gaze of countless people, a white figure suddenly emerged from the depths of Yunlan Mountain. Immediately, it stepped onto the air and slowly approached the Yunlan Sect square. The figure hadn't summoned Dou Qi wings, but its speed as it stepped through the air was unwavering. With each step, ripples rippled through the air. When the ripples dissipated, the figure had already appeared 100 meters away, a truly mysterious sight. After several such strides, in a matter of moments, the figure appeared atop the stone tablet in the center of the square. Yunshin's calm gaze swept across the devastated arena, his brow furrowed slightly. The pressure shrouding the square had intensified at this moment. The Daozong's pressure was unreservedly displayed, and Yunshin said in a deep voice, "Can anyone tell me what's going on?" If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 Susanoo. Hovering in the sky, Uchiha Madara glanced at the emerging white figure, carefully examining the former leader of the Yunlan Sect. The figure wore a simple white robe, fluttering in the breeze, lending him a ethereal air. He didn't look particularly old, his face devoid of wrinkles, instead radiating a gentle luminous quality like a piece of jade. His snow-white hair, far from the aging or decay of his years, remained as crystal clear as he had been in Six Paths mode. Old sect leader, you finally emerged. If you had been any later, the Yunlan Sect would have been destroyed. The second elder of the Yunlan Sect involuntarily fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. It's him. Everything started with this Uchiha Madara. The second elder pointed at him, then recounted the events with increasing intensity. Uchiha Madara was not surprised by this recounting, but rather delighted. Of course, it would be best to direct all of Yunshin's hatred towards him, so that Yunshin, in his rage, would unconsciously unleash his full might. After hearing this, Yunshin's eyes flashed with cold murderous intent as he looked at Uchiha Madara. Clearly, in his mind, Uchiha Madara had been sentenced to death. This matter, no one could reconcile, was irreconcilable. Uchiha Madara, huh? Do you have anything to explain? Yunshin asked coldly. Uchiha Madara looked at Yunshin calmly, a look of disdain on his face. If you want to fight, then fight. Why all that nonsense? If you want to fight, then fight. Why all that nonsense? His simple, direct words echoed throughout the square, so loud that you could hear a pin drop throughout the Yunlan Sect. That was a Daozang, a genuine Daozang. Even though Uchiha Madara was equally powerful, to provoke such a Daozang master like that, did he truly fear death? He smiled. Yunshin smiled. A smile of rage. At this moment, Yunshin didn't care about Uchiha Madara's motives, nor did he care if there were other forces behind him. He just wanted to kill this arrogant man right then and there, to make him understand what Daozang power was. Behind his back, Xiao Yan secretly applauded. As expected of Madara, he was incredibly domineering. Heibodon also smiled dryly, remembering his first encounter with Uchiha Madara. Madara had been just as arrogant and defiant. It was a kind of arrogance that came from deep within his soul. It was the aura that naturally developed from being at the top for so long. I wonder if he's going to unleash his true power. I'm really looking forward to this battle, Jia Xingshan thought. As the guardian of the Jia royal family, the more miserable the Yunlan Sect suffered, the happier he was. He was already pleased with the deaths and injuries suffered by the entire Yunlan Sect, but if that old man Yunshin were to be crushed to the ground, he would be even happier. Thinking this, Jia Xingshan watched intently. Dou Huang and Dou Zhang, though only a single character separate, represent vastly different meanings. The Dou Qi continent boasts countless powerful factions. Dou Huang, for these, is merely the apex of the younger generation. However, Dou Zhang, regardless of location, is considered a formidable force. This is the difference. In a remote region like the Jia Empire, the weight of a Dou Zhang is undeniable. They can run rampant, even unstoppable. Although Jia Xingshan has strong confidence in Uchiha Madara, and knows he's not yet at full strength, he remains unsure of the outcome of the upcoming battle. Since you wish to die, I'll grant your wish. Yunshin's eyes flashed with a cold light, and with lightning speed, he struck out, his boundless Dou Qi transforming into long swords that instantly struck Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara flung the black and white Indra flower in his hand, creating a massive explosion that shattered Yunshan's Dou Qi swords, leaving his face covered in dust and a darkening hue. Wind wall. Yunshan clasped his hands together, and a mighty gust of wind surged through the sky. In the blink of an eye, a massive, deep sine wall of wind, nearly spanning half the sky, rapidly coalesced. Its immensity stunned countless people. Yunshan flung his sleeves once more, and 5 equally vast wind walls appeared, forming a massive cage that trapped Uchiha Madara. The wind walls slowly closed, then suddenly compressed together. Under this massive attack, Madara had no chance of escape. Boom. The sky darkened for a moment, the mountains trembled, and the sound of falling rocks echoed. In the distance, Uchiha Madara had been blasted into a distant peak, which collapsed amidst thick smoke. Haha, this is the fate of opposing the Yunlan Sect, Yunshan sneered. Clearly, he didn't believe Uchiha Madara could survive such a powerful attack. But at that moment, a resounding explosion erupted, a blue light shot skyward, and a shocking and terrifying aura emerged. It was distinctly different from fighting spirit, yet its terrifying power was palpable. Beneath the crumbling mountain, amidst the rubble, a two-faced four-armed giant slowly rose, like the awakening of an ancient god or the appearance of the demon king of the abyss. 4 massive blue swords appeared within the two-faced giant's arms. Uchiha Madara appeared within Susanoo, unscathed, his eyes transformed into strange intricate blood-red Mangeki patterns. Eternal Mangeki Sharingan. Uchiha Madara folded his arms, glaring at Yunshan with disdain, his voice cold and dismissive. Yunshan, do you think you've won yet? You're so naive. Susanoo. Appearing. P.S. The climax has only just begun. Please recommend and support. Chapter 83, Fire Escape. Super Dragon Flame Song Technique. Finally showing his true power. Atop a tall tree, Jia Zingshan whispered, watching the massive giant emerge from what looked like hell. He knew Uchiha Madara's true strength was far from simple. Another new power. Emperor Heiboden also gazed intently at the distant Susanoo. He remembered clearly that when Uchiha Madara fought him in the Tagor Desert, he had only used powers related to the wood element. But now, Uchiha Madara had unleashed a new power, truly astonishing. For an alchemist, he's still so formidable. Fama nodded repeatedly. To have achieved such proficiency in both alchemy and fighting spirit, perhaps only the mysterious alchemist he met during his travels across the continent could rival him. He's quite capable, Daozang Yunshan said with a more serious expression. He was well aware of the power of his wind wall earlier, but the fact that Uchiha Madara had emerged unscathed was a bit unbelievable. It also made Yunshan realize that Uchiha Madara was a formidable opponent. Come on. Keep pleasing me. Uchiha Madara smiled with a hint of fanaticism. Regardless of the power of Dou Qi, he had only mastered it for a little over a month. Although he possessed superior natural talent, his combat power only reached Dou Huang level. But after unleashing his own power, things were completely different. Now, the real battle began. HMPH. It's better if you're not dead. Now I'll show you the true terror of a Daozang warrior. Yunshan sneered, but before Yunshan's voice fell, Uchiha Madara unleashed a powerful chakra explosion. Susanoo raised high and slashed down directly. The blue Susanoo sword swung down from the sky like a meteor, emitting a brilliant light. The power of chakra, completely different from Dou Qi, was revealed, enveloping the entire Yunlan Sect square. After achieving 6 paths level powerhouses and fully mastering Yin release, although both possessed half Karasu Tengu armored Susanoo, Uchiha Madara's half Karasu Tengu armored Susanoo was over 10 times more powerful than Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke's half Susanoo. Note the above statement, just as Madara's fire release cannot be compared to that of an ordinary person's fire release, 6 paths Madara's Susanoo cannot be compared to that of an ordinary Madara. This principle can be understood by looking at the fully formed Susanoo summoned by Tsutsuki Hagoromo 1,000 years prior to the Hokage. Therefore, the force of this attack was immense, affecting not only the Yunlan Sect, but also the entire gathering of powerful warriors. What? The countless powerful warriors in the treetops suddenly changed their expressions. Uchiha Madara and Yunshan were fighting, yet they could feel the aftermath of the attack. This was truly a battle between gods, with mortal suffering. They had originally intended to observe the excitement in silence, but now it seemed more solemn. Immediately, many powerful warriors secretly channeled their Dou Qi to form defensive barriers or Dou Qi armor around their bodies. No matter what, they had to deal with this wave of attack first. Yunshin's expression grieved. As the former leader of the Yunlan Sect, he had to consider the entire Yunlan Sect and protect it. Wind wall. Yunshin shouted, and a surge of wind-attributed Dou Qi erupted again. Countless turbulent air currents in the sky coalesced, forming an invisible barrier that appeared in the sky, blocking the Susanoo sword energy. Bang! The Susanoo sword energy collided with the wind wall with a resounding sound, and blue chakra radiated in all directions. The entire mountaintop trembled under the force. But upon contact, the wind wall shattered piece by piece, and the overflowing sword energy scattered like meteors from the sky. Yunshin's expression suddenly changed. He had not expected the difference in strength between Uchiha Madara before and after to be so great. It was a completely different level of power. Disciples of the Yunlan Sect, activate the cloud, smoke, and sun formation with all your might to block the attack. Faced with the aftermath of the Susanoo sword energy, the Yunlan Sect members refused to be defeated. They spontaneously united their auras and used the cloud, smoke, and sun formation to block the Susanoo sword energy. A series of muffled groans echoed from the Yunlan Sect disciples. Because of the massive formation, the damage was evenly distributed across everyone, and those with less strength naturally suffered. Watching the show, Xiao Yan felt quite relaxed, as he too was within the Yunlan Sect's cloud, smoke, and sun formation. Originally intended to prevent him from escaping, it now served as a protective barrier for Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan carefully observed the battle between Madara and Yunshin. Such a high-level battle would undoubtedly be of great benefit to his future growth. At the very least, it would broaden his horizons. In the sky, Uchiha Madara let out a roaring laugh and leaped into the air. With a clenching of his hands, countless Magatama clung to the half-body Susanoo and launched a downward attack. Yasakani no Magatama. Susanoo's signature attack. Powerful. Countless Magatama flew through the sky, a whirring sound echoing through the air, demonstrating the immense power of the blow. Yunshin didn't dodge, holding his breath and concentrating, before swinging forth with a fist, lashed with thunder and wind. Wind and thunder fist. A massive fist expanded to 100 meters in the air, muffled thunder crackling within, effortless knocking back the 8-foot-tall Magatama. Compared to this 100-meter-long fist, the 10-meter-tall half Susanoo looked dwarfed. Excellent. Good dance. Uchiha Madara laughed heartily, clasping his hands together and forming a flurry of hand seals. Fire style. Super Dragon Flame Song Jutsu. With a resounding dragon's roar, a massive fiery dragon suddenly appeared from the sky. Its body was crimson, its form lifelike, and its winding length stretched nearly a kilometer. It was as if a dragon king of flame had descended upon the world. The temperature of the entire mountain range suddenly soared, a rolling heat wave sweeping across it. Like a dragon god descending, the fire dragon roared and met the 100-meter-long fist. Many powerful men looked at the battle in the sky with pale faces. This level of battle had far exceeded their expectations. Chapter 84. Then the music and the dancing continued. A 1,000-meter-long crimson dragon crisscrossed the mountains. In an instant, it devoured Yunshin's wind and thunder fist, and, undiminished in its power, charged towards the Yunlan Sect. Madara never allowed himself to be swept away by the consequences. Therefore, this time, the Super Dragon Flame Song, like the Susanoo sword, affected everyone in the Yunlan Sect square, including the invited experts. Below, Xiao Yan, hiding within the Yunlan Sect's formation, smiled wryly and shook his head. He strongly suspected that Uchiha Madara had deliberately targeted everyone. It would be best if all the invited experts attacked together to spice up his battle. Yunshin's expression changed at that moment. The 1,000-meter-long crimson dragon swooped down from the sky, threatening the entire Yunlan Sect. As the former sect leader, he had to step forward. Sky cloud slash. Yunshin's fingers condensed, and countless clouds in the sky gathered in his hand. Yunshin's Dou Qi erupted without reservation, revealing the power of a Daozang. Yunshin's face was solemn. If he had initially held Uchiha Madara in contempt, by the time Uchiha Madara's fire-style Super Dragon Flame Song Jutsu appeared, Yunshin had completely treated him as a Daozang master of his own rank. No, perhaps even a stronger Daozang master. A brilliant light shone brightly in the sky. Yunshin swung his sword, a massive sword 100 meters long, suddenly descending from the sky, charging head-on at the 1,000-meter long Crimson Dragon. This move, Sky Cloud Slash, was an Earth-level Dao skill, and in Yunshin's hands, mastering wind attributes, it was a powerful weapon. The mighty sword and the fire dragon collided, eclipsing the sky with white and red light, as if the entire world were split into two colors. Before anyone could react in shock, the red light in the sky suddenly grew in size, instantly obscuring the white light. A powerful aftermath erupted in the air, and a rolling heat wave washed over them. A white figure plummeted from the sky like a kite with its string cut, stopping just before hitting the ground. This white figure was none other than Yunshin. Beyond his white robe and hair, Yunshin's face was pale, and blood was dripping from the corner of his mouth, evidently suffering heavy injuries from the previous clash. Old Sect Master. The Yunlan Sect's members shouted, deeply concerned for Yunshin. Yunshin had lost to Uchiha Madara in a head-on collision. Witnessing this outcome, the many powerful onlookers pondered their own thoughts. It seemed the world of the Gamma Empire was about to change. Deep within Yunlan Mountain, a black mist, accompanied by a roar of laughter, rose, gradually moving towards the center of the square. He muttered to himself, I never thought such a powerful being would appear in the Gamma Empire. Yunshin rose from the ruins, and, just as he raised his head, a giant's fist crashed down beside him, leaving him no chance to breathe. Yunshin's eyes narrowed, and his body jerked, narrowly dodging Uchiha Madara's attack. Susanu's massive fist descended upon the square, shattering the solid bluestone slabs, and creating a massive crater. Keep dancing. Uchiha Madara, controlling Susanu, reappeared beside Yunshin, his fists striking him from both sides with breathtaking force. And that wasn't the end. The next moment, Susanu spontaneously formed seals as Uchiha Madara formed hand seals. Dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky, and bolts of lightning thundered down from the sky. Lightning release. Thunder. Harnessing the power of chakra to summon heavenly thunder, this move was incredibly powerful. As Uchiha Madara consumed chakra to summon the thunder, he could clearly sense the chakra consumption multiplied compared to back in the ninja world, presumably due to the far greater strength of nature in this world. He can actually summon heavenly thunder? Jia Xingshan and Fama exclaimed in astonishment, watching the scene with deep awe. Dao techniques capable of summoning heavenly thunder are extremely rare on this continent. If measured by rank, they must be at least mid-level Earth rank Dao techniques. The power of thunder. How many different kinds of power does he possess? Heiboden looked at Uchiha Madara in amazement. Normally, on the Dou Qi continent, most people only master a few Dou Qi techniques that complement their own Dou Qi techniques. Uchiha Madara's Dou Qi technique is fire attributed, as he could tell. However, thunder, wood, giant. Beyond the basic fire attributed Dou Qi techniques, Uchiha Madara possesses many other hidden techniques. If it were just other attributes, it would be fine, but the problem is that these techniques are mastered with such mastery and power. What colossal faction did Uchiha Madara belong to be so omnipotent? I underestimated him. He could very well be Daozun level, but since he hasn't displayed his spatial power yet, I can't say for sure. Yao Leo said solemnly within Xiao Yan's body. The Gamma Empire, logically speaking, should have at most one Daozun at best. How could such a great god as Uchiha Madara appear? A Daozun level expert, even in Zhongzhou, would be considered a giant. Yunshin, standing in the center of the falling lightning, looked even more grim. Wind attributed Dou Qi enveloped his body, and his movements were agile as he dodged one lightning bolt after another. Each lightning bolt struck the earth, instantly charring the once barren earth to black. Even if Yunshin had 100 courage, he wouldn't dare take on the power of this thunderbolt. Wind of ultimates. Flowing wind sword. Moving at high speed, Yunshin appeared behind Uchiha Madara, the whirling wind in his hand condensing into a long sword. This was a rare opportunity. He had to seize it to inflict a heavy blow upon Uchiha Madara. As Yunshin struck, his long sword instantly transformed into countless sword shadows, raining down madly from the sky. At such close range, this move was sure to win. However, ding, clang, the sound of metal clashing echoed, and Yunshin's face was filled with astonishment. This was the blow he had been determined to achieve. and yet, it was blocked by the blue giant's outer armor, leaving not even a trace on Uchiha Madara. Damn. How could he fight this? Chapter 85 Soul Palace appears. Seeing this scene, the onlookers were filled with emotion. This fighting technique is both offensive and defensive, and its defensive power is astonishing. Yunshin is a Daozang, and even his fighting technique can't break through its defense. Heiboden gasped. A fighting technique with this kind of combined defense and defense would probably be too much for a high-level Earth-rank cultivator to withstand. Fam shook his head and smiled bitterly, his opinion of Uchiha Madara rising even higher. Jia Xingshan shook his head and sighed. A Daozang who's only just beginning to comprehend the power of space won't be able to defeat this fighting technique unless he has special means to easily destroy it head-on. I'm afraid only an 8-star Daozang or above, or even a Daozang, someone with deep experience in the understanding of space, can do it. Yunshin's attack failed, and he felt bad, and wanted to retreat quickly. But how could Uchiha Madara let Yunshin retreat without success? Madara's half-body Susanoo was a double-faced four-armed creature. He didn't even need to turn around at this moment, and his massive blue fist landed directly on Yunshin. Yunshin gritted his teeth, compelled to attack now. He raised his wind sword to block. However, the nimble wind sword clashed with the massive fist, akin to a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Bang! Yunshin's body was sent flying by the Susanoo punch, half of his body embedded in the rock. The wrist holding the wind sword was drenched in blood. Before mastering special powers like space and time, combat might sound complex, but in reality it simply came down to a comparison of strength, speed, defense, and skill. Despite having reached Daozang, Yunshin's overall abilities were completely outmatched against Uchiha Madara. A higher level Daozang might have been able to put up a good fight against Uchiha Madara, who was wielding half of his Susanoo. However, Yunshin, having just reached Daozang, was only marginally stronger than a 9-star Dou Huang, and was naturally outmatched by Uchiha. With a roar that pierced the air, Susanoo slammed down with another punch, giving Yunshin no chance, seemingly aiming to crush him instantly. Bang! The fist fell mercilessly, shattering the 100-meter square into smithereens, cracks spreading outward like spider webs. Old Sect Master, Grandmaster. The Yunlan Sect's members cried out in horror and helplessness. Yunshin, their strongest member, a Daozang-level powerhouse, had been beaten to this state. Today was supposed to be a simple 3-year appointment. Why had it turned out like this? Uchiha Madara shook his head, truly disappointed. He had thought a Daozang-level powerhouse would give him a little more pleasure. Now it seemed a mere Daozang wasn't even half as good as him. The smoke and dust enveloping Yunshin gradually dissipated, revealing his disheveled form. Blood dripped from his body, staining the shattered square floor red. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Yunshin was now utterly weakened, no longer worthy of confronting Uchiha Madara. With the Yunlan Sect, which had dominated the Jama Empire for so many years, destined for destruction today. At this moment, Yunshin roared, "Wuang, if you don't act now, our Yunlan Sect will be annihilated today. You're going to do something, and you won't even have a clue." Yunshin's roar stunned Fama, Heiboden, Jia Xingshan, and the others. Who was Wuang? Why hadn't they heard of him before? Uchiha Madara's eyes lit up. A powerful being? He. Accompanied by a strange laugh, a mass of black mist suddenly erupted from the Yunlan Sect's main hall. The mist quickly condensed in the sky, eventually forming a deep 10-foot wide ball of fog. What a strange aura! Heiboden and the others exclaimed solemnly. Today's drama had been truly spectacular, one scene after another. Now it was clear that this black mist wasn't a good thing. What exactly was it? Soul Palace. Within Xiao Yan's body, Leo's emotions suddenly fluctuated violently upon seeing the black mist. I didn't expect these guys to exist near the Jama Empire. They probably rarely come to this northwest. Why is this happening? Teacher, what is a soul palace? Xiao Yan couldn't help but ask, seeing Leo's expression. It was the first time he had seen Leo's face so solemn. Little one, I originally wanted to tell you this when you were stronger, but now you've unexpectedly encountered them beforehand. If you want to know, I can tell you in advance. But I must warn you, the forces behind this are enormous, far beyond the reach of sects like the Yunlan Sect. Are you still sure you want to know? Leo asked after a moment's silence. Xiao Yan's palms trembled involuntarily, and he swallowed hard. He had a premonition that what Leo was about to say would make his future extremely dangerous and unsettled. Xiao Yan couldn't help but look up at Uchiha Madara in the sky. Facing this new powerful being, Uchiha Madara showed no fear at all. Madara's behavior was like a guiding light for Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan, also wanted to be as domineering as Madara. So, Xiao Yan, why are you still shrinking back? Teacher, I'm sure. Xiao Yan said firmly. Leo looked at Xiao Yan with satisfaction. In the month he had been asleep, Xiao Yan had truly grown up. Little one, I've told you before that the Dou Qi continent is vast, teeming with powerful beings. Even Daozongs are merely larger ants. Within this vast region, many strange forces exist, the Soul Palace being the most mysterious of them all, encompassing nearly half of the Dou Qi continent. The Soul Palace is incredibly powerful and mysterious, targeting those with exceptionally potent souls. They act like the continent's soul scavengers, sensing any powerful soul that escapes its body and sending its men to ambush it. They also possess unique methods of controlling souls. Back then, after my physical body was destroyed, they surrounded and hunted me. Xiao Yan gasped. Even Leo, with his strength, had been chased and hunted by the Soul Palace. Just how powerful was this mysterious Soul Palace? Xiao Yan couldn't help but glance up at the sky again. Could Madara-sama be able to crush them with such force this time? P.S. Please vote for recommendations. Please vote for the monthly ticket. I'll ask the editor today if they have any recommendations. If not, I'll put it up tomorrow. If so, I'll put it up next week. Then there is a questions group number 895,809,518. If you have any opinions, you can come and give them. There are relatively few people in this group. If there is any news, they are basically discussing Naruto knowledge. Chapter 86 Yang Escape. Back to the battlefield. Soul Palace's guardian Wu transformed into black mist, swelling in the sky, emitting a sinister, crow-like laugh. Hehe. I didn't expect the Jayamar Empire to harbor such a formidable force as you. Bringing you back to Soul Palace today will surely delight the palace master. The black mist shrank and rippled, slowly coalescing into a figure shrouded in a thick black smoke as everyone watched. A pair of slightly crimson eyes peeked out from the profound darkness, looking not only at Uchiha Madara, but also at Xiao Yan. And you, brat. Your Xiao family has something Soul Palace needs. Once I've dealt with him, I'll take care of you too. Xiao Yan's pupils shrank slightly. What did their Xiao family have that was worthy of Soul Palace's attention? Guardian Wu, without his Dou Qi wings, simply stood in the void, his aura far more profound than Yunshan's. Another Daozong? Fama's gaze narrowed as he cried out. I don't recall such a figure from the Yunlan Sect. I heard from this person that he's from the Soul Palace, which must be another faction on the continent, Jia Xingshan said, a hint of worry lingering in his heart. He was only a peak Dou Huang powerhouse, and Yunshan's breakthrough to Daozong was already a challenge for him. Now Yunshan had also established connections with other powerful factions on the continent. This left the Jayama imperial family with even less leverage to resist. Jia Xingshan could only hope that Uchiha Madara could simultaneously eliminate Yunshan and this newly emerged powerhouse. Only then could the Jayama imperial family rest easy. Uchiha Madara sneered, his tone rather arrogant, though he wasn't sure if he had the strength to back it up. I hope you can satisfy me. Wu Wang was stunned, a cruel smile spreading across his face. Very well. For that, I'll accept your soul guardian. Yunshan panted, pulling a handful of pills from his pocket and swallowing them. The pill's healing effect was remarkable, stabilizing his injuries. He looked at Uchiha Madara coldly and said, you're asking for your own death. Yunshan's words came from the heart. Where did Wu Wang come from? From the Soul Palace. What is the Soul Palace? It's considered the foremost power in Zhongzhou. It's filled with experts. With a flick of their finger, they could crush countless forces like the Yunlan Sect. Uchiha Madara's performance was indeed impressive, but he still had the strength to fight back, which shows that he's still an ant below the level of a Daozong. And this Wu Wang is the Soul Palace's guardian, himself a 6-star Daozong. He undoubtedly possesses secret techniques, making him a formidable Daozong. Wu Huang moved his palm, and a pitch black chain rustled out from it with a rustling sound. With a slight tremor, it resembled a venomous snake coiling around him. The black chain trembled slightly, and instantly transformed into a black line that shot towards Uchiha Madara. The chain's tip was exceptionally sharp, covered in mysterious runes. Spiral lines coiled around its tip, fueled by the eagle's energy, and exuded a powerful, menacing aura. Uchiha Madara raised a brow at the chain, sensing a power similar to Uzumaki Mito's diamond chain. However, unlike the diamond chain, which sealed the entire body, this chain seemed to target the soul. Uchiha Madara wielded Susanoo and slashed, slicing the chain into a black mist. The mist dispersed, then coalesced into a chain. Similar to the power of Yundan. From the moment they engaged, Uchiha Madara sensed that Wu Huang's strength was far superior to Yunshan's. Furthermore, the chain was constructed from soul power and a special secret technique. As long as the soul power remained indestructible, it could be activated continuously. It shared many similarities with Yundan, a technique based on spiritual energy that could create form from nothingness. Uchiha Madara was the master of Yundan. However, Uchiha Madara touched his chest. Facing such soul-related tactics, the best countermeasure wasn't Yundan, but the supremely powerful Yangtan. Uchiha Madara clasped his hands together, and a golden light, like the rising sun, shone with an intense radiance that seemed to dispel all ghosts. Ashura's reincarnation possessed no Yuntan, and Indra's reincarnation possessed no Yangtan. This had been the truth of the two chakra reincarnations for millennia. But Uchiha Madara was no longer a mediocre person. After transplanting Hashirama cells, he possessed full attribute chakra. Without full attribute chakra, how could he possibly wield Yuntan, the exclusive power of the six paths? As the sun rose, the Soul Palace Guardian's expression suddenly changed. Although he didn't sense any fighting spirit, he clearly felt the threat of life and death. This rising sun was bound to pose a significant threat to him. With this thought in mind, Wu Hufa unleashed his most powerful attack without hesitation. A black fog surged across the sky, and souls roared as they flew towards Uchiha Madara. The entire sky seemed to have become a hell. However, no matter how Wu Hufa resisted, the black fog melted away like ice upon fire, after encountering Uchiha Madara's yang release, leaving him with no chance of resistance. A golden light shattered the black fog, and continued its charge towards Wu Hufa, striking him directly as he stared in terror. Bang! A figure plummeted from the golden light, crashing to the ground. A massive crater appeared in the Yunlan Sect square, created by Wu Hufa's blast. Everyone in the Yunlan Sect square fell silent. This was a Daozang master more powerful than Yunshan, yet he was defeated in the first move of their encounter. It was unbelievable. Yunshan also hurried to the side of the Guardian Wu. The Guardian Wu, who was at the peak of the 6-star Daozang, was beaten like a dog. This Uchiha Madara was so fierce. Uchiha Madara showed displeasure. Yangdan was too restraining for this man. He was defeated in one move. The interest he had just started was gone. The Guardian Wu raised his head gloomily and looked at Yunshan beside him. Yunshan, there is another way to keep the Yunlan Sect alive today. That is. The Guardian Wu suddenly grabbed Yunshan's head. The black mist wrapped Yunshan around, and Yunshan's soul was sucked out, and the sound of chewing was heard. 9 Forests and 100 Soul Devourers. Chapter 87. Black eats black. Daozang's soul explodes. The vast square fell into an unusual silence at this moment. Everyone stared blankly at the sudden change. Even some of the Yunlan Sect elders were bewildered. Wasn't this mysterious Wu Guardian the Sect Master's aide? How could? The sound of chewing strangely echoed in the silent sky. Some could imagine what terrible event was taking place within the black fog, and the mere thought sent a chill through their veins. What's going on? Xiao Yan was startled by the sudden scene. He pulled a pill from his ring and popped it into his mouth. His blurred vision cleared slightly, and he stared at the black fog in astonishment. That guy seems to have devoured Yunshan's soul. Yao Leo's expression was also extremely solemn. He could sense a cold and eerie aura rapidly growing within the black fog. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan's face changed slightly. He had never expected this Wu Guardian to be so cruel. Without a word, he had simply ripped out Yunshan's soul and forcibly devoured it. It seemed that today's events were not over yet. The Soul Palace's powerful are incredibly strange. I never imagined they could devour souls. to bolster their own strength. However, I suspect this secret technique has significant side effects. Even if he successfully devours Yunshin's soul now, he'll likely pay a heavy price later. Otherwise, he wouldn't have resorted to this method until now, Yao Leo said gravely. We can't let him devour Yunshin's soul. Yao Leo narrowed his eyes and was about to attack, but upon seeing Uchiha Madara motionless in the sky, Yao Leo hesitated and held back. What's wrong, master? Xiao Yan asked, noticing Yao Leo's unusual movements. Nothing, Yao Leo whispered. He'd almost forgotten that Uchiha Madara was nearby. Yundan. Thunderblade. Uchiha Madara glared coldly at the black mist, then charged towards it with a pitch black lightning blade in his hand, refusing to let this minion continue. The pitch black lightning blade split the black mist in two, and a shrill scream echoed. He had learned a bit about the Soul Palace from Yao Leo. He was going to fight those respected elders, those celestial sovereigns, not just a mere guardian. Impossible. My defenses are so high when I perform this move. Even a 9-star Daozan wouldn't be able to break it. Guardian Wu cried out in disbelief, his face filled with horror before a ruthless determination hardened within him. Then, an old face wriggled slowly out of the black mist, transforming into a foot-sized phantom head. Its face was etched with pain, as if enduring a strange torture. Everyone present was familiar with this old face, for it was none other than Yunshin, whose soul had been devoured by Guardian Wu. As Yunshin's phantom head appeared, a low dark wind blew through the air, chilling the very bones. Everyone in the Yunlan Sect stared intently at the illusory head that appeared beside the Guardian Wu, gritting their teeth. Though their hearts were filled with extreme anger, the overwhelming pressure emanating from the sky prevented them from even moving. A ghostly claw-like hand slowly emerged from the Guardian Wu's sleeve and gently grasped Yunshin's illusory head. A strange, dense black light surged from his palm, pouring into the head. As the black light infused it frantically, the illusory head rapidly expanded, multiplying in size in the blink of an eye. The pain on its face became increasingly clear. Senluo Wangxiang's soul funeral. A mighty roar echoed, and the pain on the face of the illusory head, which had already reached several feet in size, instantly froze. Black light surged from all 7 of its orifices, and under the gaze of countless horrified eyes, it suddenly exploded. Boom. A massive explosion resounded like thunder, shaking the heavens and earth. A terrifying black tide surged like a flood, covering the entire world. In a mere moment, an eerie black light spread, enveloping the entire world. This time, the darkness was so complete that the sun in the sky was obscured, as if it had vanished from thin air. The entire World Cup was completely shrouded in darkness. What's going on? What happened? The sudden darkness stirred many people in the square. Countless people lost their voices in terror, and panic spread everywhere. Teacher, what's going on? Xiao Yan couldn't help but ask. The scene was truly terrifying. That guy self-destructed Yunshin's soul. He controlled the exploding soul wave, and his primary target was Uchiha Madara, so we didn't feel much, Yao Leo said solemnly. The self-destruction of a Daozang powerhouse's soul was a force that no ordinary person could withstand. In the sky, Madara also felt the immense power of this soul explosion. Unleashing his Yangdan technique with all his might, golden light instantly filled the sky, and the black mist quickly dissipated beneath the overwhelming golden light. Soon, the sky became clear again. Uchiha Madara took a quick look and saw that there was no trace of the Wu Guardian. Gazing further away, Uchiha Madara discovered that a ghost-like creature was rapidly fleeing in the air. By making such a big commotion, he thought he could act tougher and please him. But now it seems that he wants to run away. What a coward. The next moment, Uchiha Madara quickly caught up with the Wu Guardian flying in the air. The Wu Guardian's running was exactly what Uchiha Madara wanted. It would be best if he could run to a lair where there were more powerful people, so that he could have more fun. The two of them, one fleeing and the other chasing, flew quickly to the west. Only the people in the Yunlan Mountain Square were left standing there at a loss. Is this the end of the matter? Chapter 88 Farewell. Wu Wang fled with incredible speed, completely terrified, his previous arrogance completely gone. Wu Wang was undoubtedly feeling deeply frustrated. He had originally thought that for a tiny place like the Jayamar Empire, the sudden emergence of a Daozan capable of suppressing Yunshan was already the limit. Unexpectedly, the opponent's strength was far more than a Dou Zhang. He was a guardian of the Soul Palace, and his vision was far superior to that of a Dou Zhang from a small place like Yunshan. To be able to crush him so decisively, this powerful being named Uchiha Madara could only be described as unfathomable. Even Yunshan's soul explosion didn't seem to cause any substantial damage. He was at least a peak Dou Zhang. This was Wu Wang's judgment at that moment. In fact, if Uchiha Madara hadn't shown any ability to use space from beginning to end, he would have suspected that he had run into a Dou Zhang today. It was truly outrageous. What bad luck. I haven't completed the orders from above yet, and just as I've connected with the Yunlan Sect, a mysterious and powerful figure appears. I can only flee now, and find another opportunity later. Wu Wang was deeply depressed. The orders from the Soul Palace were to find the Xiao family and obtain something. Of course, they were not clear about the true purpose. They only knew that the higher-ups were taking this matter very seriously. Uchiha Madara, right? This time, Wu Wang remembered it. When he returned to the Soul Palace to bring reinforcement, he would make sure Uchiha Madara knew how powerful he was. Wu Wang was furious and flew away without looking back. Suddenly, a rumbling sound echoed behind him. Wu Wang turned around and was instantly shocked. He saw Uchiha Madara chasing him at an even faster speed, stepping through the void. The huge giant's fighting skills had been put away. Done. Thunder style. Chasing Wu Wang from behind, Uchiha Madara launched a direct attack. A massive jet of inky black lightning suddenly emanated a brilliant black light and charged towards Wu Wang. Wu Wang screamed, summoning his remaining strength to launch a life-saving attack. A burst of black light shot out, meeting Uchiha Madara's Yuntan Rapar technique and unexpectedly absorbing it. Wu Wang's aura was noticeably weakened after this attack. This technique simultaneously depleted his life force and soul power, something he would never use unless absolutely necessary. However, in order to escape, he could not care less. Meanwhile, Wu Wang roared inwardly, "Oh my god. What's the point of chasing me? Isn't your goal the Yunlan Sect? I'm just a temporary helper. Do you really need to beat me half to death?" Madara raised a brow. As expected, his opponent was like water in a sponge. If you squeezed it, it would always reveal new abilities. Calmly hanging behind the hawk like a shadow of the dead, Madara's purpose was simple. He wanted to use the hawk as bait to lure out the Soul Palace's stronger forces. As for the Yunlan Sect, Madara had no real conflict with them. It was just bad luck that the Yunlan Sect happened to be the strongest faction in the Gamma Empire, and thus ran into Uchiha Madara's crushes. However, Yunshan's performance disappointed him greatly. He hadn't even managed to unleash his full Susanoo, let alone his subsequent tactics. Of course, after becoming the 10 Tails Jinchuriki and fully mastering Yuntan, even using a half Susanoo would be no less powerful than the full Susanoo of his youth. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to defeat Dou Zhang. Come, show him the might of this world. This time, no one should try to escape. After obtaining the Space Stone, he spent 2 days conducting preliminary research on the power of space. While he couldn't master it completely, he had no problem setting up a barrier to seal it. Back at the Yunlan Sect, after Uchiha Madara flew off after the hawk, everyone in the Yunlan Sect square was stunned. Jia Xingshan was the first to recover. After Yunshan and Uchiha Madara left, he was the strongest person present. Ha 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 ha. What a show. Jia Xingshan laughed heartily as he flew towards the Jama Imperial capital. Without Yunshan, the Yunlan Sect's strongest was only Yun Yun, and Yun Yun was no match for him. From now on, in the Jama Empire, who dared to challenge him? He had to hurry back and prepare. In a few days, if the situation improved, he would completely eradicate the Yunlan Sect, a task that had eluded many dynasties. Everyone in the Yunlan Sect looked at each other in bewilderment and began to think about Yun Yun. Today's incident could be considered a turning point in the fate of the Yunlan Sect. What would become of them from now on? Fama thought of the Pill King Dou Qi, who had just quickly departed, and sighed. There was a huge gap between this 6th rank alchemist and his 5th rank alchemist. In the square, Xiao Yan stood blankly, watching Uchiha Madara's receding figure, a sense of loss welling up in his heart. For some reason, he felt as if he would never see Madara again. Although Xiao Yan and Madara had only met a few times, Madara's charisma and immense strength held a fatal attraction for a young man like Xiao Yan, who was still in the process of growing up. Every teenager who had come into contact with Uchiha Madara wouldn't want to become a powerful and imposing figure like him. Don't look at me anymore. You still have to forge your own path. Once you reach Zhongzhou, I'm sure you'll see each other again, Yao Leo said. Xiao Yan remained stunned, not answering Yao Leo. He was still in the Jia Empire, and who knew how long it would take him to reach the heights of Zhongzhou, where the powerful were so numerous. Madara, on the other hand, had risen from nothing to his current level in just over a month, and he hadn't even shown the limits of his power yet. By the time he reached Zhongzhou, based on his understanding of Madara-sama, the likelihood of him remaining in this world was low. He had likely become a Dou Qi, bound for a new world, to begin a new battle. After all, Madara-sama didn't belong to this world. Carrying the heavy Zuantang ruler on his back, Xiao Yan slowly walked toward the outside of the Yunlan Sect. Goodbye, Madara-sama. Xiao Yan will never forget you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, Sort It Out. I'll sort it out, but please, I'll take a day off. Next up is the Daozun level, where 6 Paths Madara will also make his appearance. I've read nearly all of the thousands of discussion threads on combat power in the fan circle, including the threads within them. The discussions are lively, and aside from the very few Cloud Hokage and Cloud Duppo, everyone is a serious connoisseur. Arguments range from Daozun to Dou Qi and 6 Paths Madara's power, and everyone's arguments can be divided into 2 main points, the comparison of the expressiveness of his moves, and the comparison of his spatial abilities. The main conflict centers on the comparison of spatial abilities. Indeed, approximately 70% of the time-space abilities in Naruto, with the exception of a few Satsuki characters, become useless once spatial barriers are imposed. Basically, there's no solution. However, to say 6 Paths Madara is a Daozun is a bit of an exaggeration. Daozun is just an infant navigating the power of space, and it's not something that can be displayed. It takes several Daozuns to build a spatial channel, the Shianaya City spatial channel in the original Duppo novel. As for Dou Qi, some of the arguments are valid, but the difference in performance between the 6 Paths and Dou Qi moves is quite significant. The 10 Tails Beast Ball is the benchmark for the 6 Paths. A Tail Beast Ball capable of directly destroying half the ninja world is practically the pinnacle of Naruto's performance. But as for calculating the radius of the ninja world, there are many ways to do it, from thousands to hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and strangely enough, they all make sense. If we really want to discuss this, we are just helping Kishimoto with his setting. And while the book ultimately aims for Uchiha Madara, the strongest of all the worlds, it wouldn't be that meaningful if he started each world as invincible. Daozun and Daosheng are pretty much the upper limit for 6 Paths Madara. If you think Duppo is stronger or Naruto is stronger, don't argue. There's a thing called funding. If you really want to argue, go with Duppo's Dou Qi transformed horse, Naruto's Uchiha's throw, or simply the different heavenly Deo suppressions in different worlds. It's endless. Where exactly is the upper limit? This question goes back to spatial abilities. If we take spatial abilities out of the equation, it's reasonable to say 6 Paths Madara is Daosheng level in terms of performance. However, if we exclude spatial abilities, you could also say he's at a high All-Star Daozun level. After all, spatial travel, spatial blockade, and spatial oppression are all unsolvable. For the sake of the majority of readers, we'll refrain from dwelling on this. We've laid the groundwork earlier. At the Gamma auction house, Madara was given a space stone, and over 2 days, thousands of shadow clones studied it. It's now assumed, PS, not assumed, that Madara's spatial abilities are at Daozun level. In this way, the fundamental conflict between us is resolved. Everyone is happy. So, ultimately, under the assumption that there are no spatial limitations, PS, this is very important, we assume Madara's overall strength is at the peak of Daozun. Again, we are all brought together here because of Madara-sama. We all want to see his spectacular performances in various worlds. We are all kindred spirits. PS2, I'm back to school today to do experiments in the lab, so no updates. I'll resume tomorrow. To compensate, I'll be updating at least 7,000 words daily from Tuesday to Thursday. This may be in chapters, or even larger chapters. Large chapters are easier to catch up on. Next week will be the final week of recommended PKs. Park recommendations are primarily based on PKs from Tuesday to Thursday. If I succeed, I'll give you an extra week of free chapters. If not, I'll put it up next Friday. Whether or not I write more free chapters is in your hands. If you want more free chapters, catch up on the latest chapters every day from Tuesday to Thursday. That's all. Chapter 90, Chapter 88, Fighting Against the Battle Lord. Xiao Yan stopped talking and continued to talk about Madara. Uchiha Madara chased Wu Wang in the same direction. This chase and escape had Wu Wang uttering 1000 MMPS. To survive, Wu Wang had used every ability he could muster just to delay Uchiha Madara's pursuit, but now it seemed to be futile. Uchiha Madara had been following him, slowly and steadily, occasionally attacking him with unknown fighting techniques, keeping him on edge the entire time. It seemed that Uchiha Madara didn't intend to kill him, but rather used him for fun, a game of cat and mouse. Uchiha Madara, I will make you regret this. Wu Wang, filled with grief and indignation, increased his speed. In the distance, a dark mountain range loomed before him. Finally, Wu Wang exclaimed, overjoyed, hope of escape welling up in his heart. Uchiha Madara keenly noticed Wu Wang's change. Finally arrived? Hoping for a master who could satisfy his cravings. Approaching the mountain range, the eagle dove in, gazing in one direction without a backward glance. Madara looked in that direction. The cold air was so thick it obscured the sky. Countless bodies lay buried beneath the mountain soil. Shrouded in this icy fog, even his spiritual perception seemed to be impaired. But his samurai emerged, the fog offering no hindrance. Madara's vision settled into a pitch black palace deep within the mountains. Is it the headquarters, or a branch? Madara wondered. But it didn't matter. Either way, there must be powerful masters within. Uchiha Madara smiled, and flew directly into the vast cold fog. Inside, he discovered a forest, its white mist filling the view. Occasionally, figures as nimble as monkeys would pierce through the mist, emitting low animalistic roars. Further inside, Uchiha Madara heard some faint noises and glanced forward. A vast, overwhelming swarm of ants appeared before him. Having already amassed a wealth of knowledge from the Dou Qi continent, Uchiha Madara recognized the beast. The stone-eating demon ants, only around level 3 or 4, were incredibly numerous, often swarming in the tens of thousands, to devour any flesh and blood that stood in their way. Wherever the stone-eating demon ants passed, they left a trail of bones, leaving not even a shred of flesh and blood behind. Faced with such a swarm, even an 8th level demon beast could only retreat. Uchiha Madara had no interest in wasting time with these ants, truly mere ants. Such demon beasts, relying solely on numbers to win, could not quickly bring him the joy of battle. The purple ripples of his Rinnegan Emon rippled slightly, and the swarm of stone-eating demon ants ceased their subtle movements. A dark golden stone-eating demon ant queen, with 8 wings as thin as cicada wings, flew in front of Uchiha Madara. The stone-eating demon ant queen commanded the entire stone-eating demon ant swarm. Before the eyes of the Rinnegan, Uchiha Madara easily controlled the stone-eating ant queen, guiding him along the way. As they advanced, the leading stone-eating ant queen suddenly emitted a subtle strange sound wave, which then spread outward like ripples. Pa, pa. Shortly after the sound wave spread, black shadows from the surrounding cold fog fell onto the withered grass. Each of these shadows held a fist-sized black ant, gnawing fiercely at its neck. Madara peered closely, and saw that these shadows were actually small, palm-sized blackbirds, tiny and hidden in the cold fog. A buzzing sound emanated from the gold-eating ant queen, and Uchiha Madara instantly understood. These blackbirds were Sol Palace spies, using sound waves to communicate at the slightest sign of trouble. Indeed, quite interesting. Uchiha Madara continued walking, the fog thinning considerably. At the end of a steep high slope, a vast valley surrounded by mountains appeared. Within the valley, a massive black palace, 100 feet tall, resembled a crouching, ferocious beast. A chilling, terrifying aura permeated the darkness. Uchiha Madara gazed at the vast palace before him, his smile growing ever wider. Then, he attacked with all his might. Meanwhile, within the Soul Palace branch, Elder, help! Wu Ying cried out upon entering the hall. This was a branch of the Soul Palace in the northwest continent, guarded by a respected elder. Because the northwest region lacked many experts and their overall strength was not impressive on the mainland, the Soul Palace's influence was limited, and true Soul Palace masters were reluctant to come. Otherwise, the Soul Palace wouldn't have resorted to turning to the Yunlan Sect for any problems in the Jama Empire. Wu Ying, calling for help, rushed to the center of the hall. An old man seated there opened his eyes. As the old man's eyes opened, the air seemed to suffocate. Guardian Wu? The old man asked, puzzled. Aren't you on a mission in the Jama Empire? Why are you so injured? Wu Ying, though only a Daozang, had come from the Zhangzhou Heavenly Palace, and was directly under the jurisdiction of the 9 Heavenly Lords, with no direct superior-subordinate relationship. Of course, this didn't mean Wu Ying could act with impunity. Ultimately, strength reigned supreme in the Dou Qi continent. A Daozang who dared to speak disrespectfully to a Daozang would die without knowing how. Xian, please save me, Wu Ying said hurriedly. I'm on a mission in the Jama Empire. I just connected with the Yunlan Sect. A powerful individual suddenly appeared out of nowhere and severely injured me. Oh. The elder raised a brow. How audacious. The elder's name was Li Fei, known to the Soul Palace as Li Zun Leo. He was a 4-star Daozang, a powerful native of the northwest who had defected to the Soul Palace. While the Jama Empire is small, even a single Daozang can dominate. The northwest is vast, making the existence of Daozang a common occurrence. However, in the northwest, Daozang is already the ultimate. Reaching the peak of Daozang and then progressing to Daozang 9 transformations is incredibly challenging and dangerous. This requires countless resources, and acquiring them alone is practically impossible. Just as Elder Li Zun was about to inquire further, a resounding explosion shook the entire hall. What's going on? He asked in shock, then reacted. Someone's attacking the hall? How audacious. Elder Li Zun erupted in anger. He hadn't seen such audacity in years. The Soul Hall's reputation was renowned, even in places like Zhangzhou, where powerful figures abounded. Its fearsome reputation deeply intimidated them. In this northwest region, a Daozang like him was a towering figure. To be able to cause the palace's protective formation to tremble continuously, this person is at least a peak Daozang master. Your defeat is well deserved. He calmly rose, hovering 3 feet above the ground, and walked out step by step. You stay here, I'll deal with him immediately. Boom. Another earth-shaking roar, the Soul Palace rumbled and trembled, and Li Daozang frowned. A moment later, Li Daozang left the hall, and stood in the air. Looking up, he saw a figure in mid-air. The long spiky hair was particularly conspicuous. You're finally out, Uchiha Madara said with a stern look, his arms folded, as he looked at Li Daozang as he emerged. He could sense the immense power within this person. Finally, he could use more of his strength. Is that the eagle you injured? Li Daozang said calmly, his voice smooth and even. In his eyes, Uchiha Madara was nothing more than an ant that could be easily crushed. Are you his backer? Uchiha Madara didn't answer, but instead asked. Li Daozang was slightly taken aback, perhaps surprised that Uchiha Madara would dare to contradict him. After a second of silence, Li Daozang revealed a strange smile. You're not wrong, but have you considered the consequences of offending the Soul Palace? Consequences? What is that? Fire style. Great fire extinguishing. A surging, endless sea of fire appeared in the sky, billowing waves of heat instantly rushing towards Li Daozang in front of him. A crimson glow shone brightly, and a dazzling light bloomed in the sky, a breathtaking aura. To be able to control flames of this magnitude, one must be quite powerful indeed. Li Daozang nodded, then casually extended his hand. The moment his hand touched the sea of fire, space rippled, and in the blink of an eye, the sea of fire vanished. The power of space? Uchiha Madara's expression shifted. This was the power of space that only the truly powerful in the Dou Qi continent could master. Finally, he had found such a powerful being. Though your strength is considerable, you haven't demonstrated the power of space, which means you haven't yet become a Daozang. Prepare to die. Li Daozun, hands behind his back, looked inscrutable. He didn't understand the power of space. Didn't demonstrate it. He didn't understand. Some aspects of the ninja world related to time and space were indeed somewhat backward. Take Tobirama Senju, master of the Flying Thunder God technique. He would be beaten to a pulp if he encountered any Daozun from this world. But did he seem the type to enter a fight unprepared? He had already considered this. You're stronger than that guy before, much stronger. You look like you could give me more pleasure. Uchiha Madara narrowed his eyes, his aura rising, his chakra surging. Li Daozun smiled. It was the first time he'd heard such an evaluation, comparing a Daozun to a true Daozun himself. He was truly ignorant of his own limitations. You'll soon see just how vast the gap is between a Daozun and a Daozun. Li Daozun chuckled, and without hesitation, he unleashed a massive burst of Dou Qi and attacked. Nirvana. Dark, destructive Dou Qi erupted from all directions, attacking Uchiha Madara in unison. A mighty sound of piercing air echoed through the forest. With Li Daozun's attack, all sound was hushed, and the sky was stained a blanket of black, as if it had become a hellish scene of sheer devastation. Uchiha Madara's gaze was solemn, clearly focused on his true purpose. A vast surge of chakra surged within him. He would never make the simple mistake of underestimating his foe. Yang done. Blazing flames. Golden flames suddenly erupted from the void, colliding with the powerful Dou Qi surrounding them. A continuous hissing sound echoed, dissolving the black Dou Qi. The void crackled with a powerful aftermath, sweeping outward. Although Yang Dun and Yun Dun share the same Dun as the Five Dun, their effectiveness, when mastered, is a world apart from the Five Dun. Just to give an example. In the original novel, in the theatrical version of the last, Uzumaki Naruto used Yang release to cover his fist and directly blocked Satsuki Tonara's Golden Wheel Samsara explosion. With one blow, he instantly knocked Satsuki Tonari back from Samsaragan chakra mode to normal. This clearly demonstrates the true power of Yang release. In Naruto, it's definitely at the level of Quasi Six Paths. He actually blocked it. Li Daozun was surprised. Although there's only a single character difference between Daozun and Daozun, the gap grows larger as one advances in Dou Qi. A Daozun who controls the power of space is useless against any number of Daozuns. Even though he just casually attacked, the opponent was able to block it. This is truly extraordinary. It seems he's reached the level of half-step Daozun. When did such a master appear in the northwest? Li Daozun thought to himself, taking a step forward, bridging the spatial distance and directly arriving at Uchiha Madara's side. He pointed his finger, his target clearly aimed between Uchiha Madara's eyebrows. Dark Dou Qi coalesced at his fingertips, piercing even the strongest defenses in an instant. But the next moment, a skeletal shield glowing with a translucent blue light appeared, and Madara once again unleashed Susanoo. Dou Qi armor? Li Daozun exclaimed in surprise. It resembled the Dou Qi armor that Grand Dao Masters could transform onto their bodies, but it was far more powerful. Was it some powerful armor-based defensive fighting technique? But then, Li Daozun no longer believed it was a defensive fighting technique. Uchiha Madara soared higher and higher into the sky, his long black hair lifted by the powerful wind. Chakra power erupted, and his pupils continuously radiated. The blood-red ripples of the eternal main Gekyo and the purple ripples of the Rinnegan shone in a constant alternation. This is the power of the Uchiha clan. The power of a god. The half-body Susanoo, once only a dozen meters tall, suddenly expanded into the sky. Its immense form obscured the sky, blocking out the sun. Its overwhelming presence overwhelmed the fierce Daozun with a powerful pressure. Such power. The fierce Daozun's face changed. How could a Daozun possess such immense power? Such overwhelming aura? How could a Daozun possibly wield such power? In the sky, the Susanoo's transformation continued. Thick blue armor enveloped the Susanoo, and Karasu Tengu's mask descended. Gigantic wings appeared behind the Susanoo, and two giant blue lightsabers were grasped in each hand. Infinite chakra radiated outward. A 500-meter tall, godlike giant descended upon the earth, its gaze fixed on all directions, like a king descending upon the earth. Uchiha Madara folded his arms across his chest. After absorbing the 10 tails, this was the first time he had unleashed his full-form Susanoo. Fueled by boundless chakra and eye energy, the power he felt far surpassed any previous full-form Susanoo, overwhelmingly abundant. What the hell is this? Li Daosan uttered incoherently. It felt like a Daosan demon beast had revealed its true form, and the sheer imposing form was truly awe-inspiring. Madara grinned, unsheathing his full-form Susanoo. A mighty aura like the ocean descended upon the world. A flash of blue sword light blazed across the sky, as dazzling as a cosmic explosion or a volcanic eruption. The very world seemed to tremble before this sword. Boom. Heaven and earth collapsed. With each swing of the full-form Susanoo, mountains within a dozen kilometers were leveled. The turbulent air currents from these repeated swings thinned the cold mist that enveloped the entire mountain range. Li Daosan of the Soul Hall stared solemnly. He pointed his right hand at the air, and suddenly an invisible spatial barrier appeared before him. Spatial barrier. Like spatial blockade, spatial teleportation, and spatial compression, this ability is common to every Daosan. However, even after using it, Li Daosan felt uncertain. This ability had a certain limit to its effectiveness, and his barrier wasn't sure it would be enough to defeat this enormous demon. However, Uchiha Madara smiled gently, and with the same casual movement of his right hand, the spatial barrier before Li Daosan vanished into nothingness. What? This kind of spatial ability? You're a Daosan too? Li Daosan couldn't help but vomit blood. This Wuang guardian had tricked him. Where was the Daosan? With such obvious spatial power, this was clearly a Daosan. Inside the Soul Hall, Wuang Guardian was also shocked, and quickly transformed into a cloud of black mist, and left the Soul Hall. Daosan. No wonder he had been able to easily stay behind him. It turned out that Uchiha Madara was a Daosan. Had he known Uchiha Madara was a Daosan, he would never have fought for the foolish Yunlan Sect in the Jayamar Empire. It's over. He figured Li Daosan would be finished today too. He had to hurry back to Zhongzhou to find Jiu Shanzun. Only by staying by Jiu Shanzun's side would he be safe. He'd slip away, leaving Li Daosan to hold the fort. Uchiha Madara sneered. He'd been in this Dou Qi continent for over a month. He'd learned from Yao Lao that Daozans were beginning to wield the power of space. Daozans could master it, and Daoshengs could use it to carve out their own small worlds. In other words, from the Dou Qi realm of Daozan onwards, the power of space would become a crucial component of the strength of the Dou Qi continent's powerful. How could he possibly rest on his laurels and remain completely unaware of it? He would surely learn and improve. Ever since the Jayamar Empire acquired the Space Stone, he'd created thousands of shadow clones within the 10-tail sealed space, working tirelessly day and night to study it, already having mastered a considerable degree of understanding. Madara had already mastered the basics of spatial power, spatial barriers, spatial blockades, spatial teleportation, and spatial compression. While Madara's control of spatial power might be limited against Daosheng or powerful Daozan, he proved no less capable against a low-star Daozan like Li Daozan. Upon discovering that Uchiha Madara also possessed spatial power, Li Daozan attempted to escape using spatial teleportation, but he discovered that the space around them had already been sealed. This sank Li Daozan's heart. Meanwhile, two immensely powerful Susanoo strikes barreled towards Li Daozan from two directions. Amidst the powerful crackling sound, Li Daozan was left with no escape. Black Soul Palm. Li Daozan shouted, and a pitch black palm print, 100 meters wide, thundered down from the sky. The sky was silent, and the surrounding space ripped apart with a series of tearing sounds. The two ordinary Susanoo strikes shattered into pieces, and the black palm print then charged towards Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara laughed heartily, unfazed. His two Susanoo swords merged into one, condensing an unprecedented amount of chakra within them. A resounding roar resounded, and a dark aura of energy spread outward. The two powerful attacks collided at that moment, sending a powerful shockwave radiating outward in all directions. A boundless gust of wind swept up. Amidst the rumbling sound, mountains shattered, the earth cracked, and the pervasive cold fog was completely dispelled. As the mist dissipated, Li Daosan reappeared, somewhat disheveled. That black soul palm strike was already a powerful fighting technique, but it only resulted in a draw. The Uchiha Madara is definitely a Daozan level warrior. He must use his ultimate moves. PS. 3 chapters in 1. Chapter 91 chapters 91 to 93 6 paths Madara. Uchiha Madara, with a calm expression, stood at the head of the perfect Susanoo. Sensing the growing aura of Li Daozun before him, his lips curled slightly. Come on, he expected. The stronger the better. Li Daozun clasped his hands together, and a terrifying force emanated from him, like some ancient beast awakening. A massive, unleashing a powerful aura that intimidated the opponent. 8 desolate beast fist. Li Daozun shouted, and the shadow of an ancient beast, as immense as the perfect Susanoo itself, materialized before him. Looking down with disdain, it delivered a powerful punch to the head of the perfect Susanoo, aiming directly at Uchiha Madara, who was trapped in the Susanoo's skull. It was Li Daozun's ultimate move. The 8 desolate beast fist, a quasi-celestial level fighting technique, had never failed Li Daozun, always securing a decisive victory. He had once used this move to successfully kill a fellow Daozun. This meant that even against a Daozun, this move could be considered a truly devastating blow. A resounding roar echoed, and destructive energy completely enveloped the fully formed Susanoo. Even Li Daozun himself couldn't see clearly what was happening inside, but the only thing that was certain was that Uchiha Madara, having fully endured this attack, would not be in good shape. Having already unleashed his strongest attack, Li Daozun still felt it was insufficient. With a flick of his ring, he pulled out a massive bow and arrow. The bow was pitch black, and exuded a strange yet powerful aura. The world-destroying bow. This weapon was acquired by Li Daozun while exploring a ruin, and it possessed immense power. Li Daozun himself had once used it to kill a Daozun-level demon beast. He considered the world-destroying bow to be the most suitable weapon for dealing with large objects. A long pitch-black arrow appeared in Li Daozun's hand, unhesitatingly attaching it to the world-destroying bow. An arrow of destruction. Li Daozun only possessed 5 arrows, and after years of battle, only 2 remained. Now, using one against Uchiha Madara would be proud of himself. Li Daozun's inner fighting spirit surged, and his grip on the bow loosened. The black arrow of destruction instantly pierced the air, like a demon seeking his life, hurtling towards Uchiha Madara, who was enveloped in a blast of destructive energy. A smile crossed Li Daozun's lips. With such a barrage of attacks, bringing all his might to bear, even a 5-star Daozun would be doomed. Ultimately, he had triumphed in this battle today. Once Uchiha Madara's corpse was revealed, he would extract his soul and devour it. He imagined that consuming it would allow his Dou Qi realm to rise another star. At that point, he would have even more say within the Soul Palace, and perhaps they would even assign him another low-star Daozun. The Northwest would eventually be his. Ha 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 ha. Li Daozun couldn't help but laugh out loud at the thought. The future. A bright future. It was right before his eyes. Suddenly, an endless stream of white light descended from the sky, and a faint celestial sound echoed from the heavens, as if ethereal cranes were dancing in the air. Li Daozun's smile froze. What was going on? After that attack, Uchiha Madara wasn't dead yet. The sea of clouds continued to churn, and massive air currents swirled. The overwhelming power and the terrifying sense of oppression combined to make Li Daozun break out in a cold sweat. This feeling was a mixture of the intimidation of a superior being and the natural sense of subjugation experienced by a lower being when confronted by a higher being. What was going on? In the sky, accompanied by a brilliant light, the swirling sea of clouds automatically split in two. A white sage robe as white as jade, 9 black Magatama seals engraved on the back, a solemn black shirt, flowing white hair, and 9 jet black truth-seeking jades emitting a terrifying aura emerged. Grasping a black sage staff composed purely of yin-yang release, 6 paths Madara stood tall in the sky, his kingly aura radiating, and a transcendent presence. While Uchiha Madara's previous appearance was still recognizable from his transformed form, his aura had been elevated to a new level, his strength completely different. That attack just now was good. 6 paths Madara praised Li Daozun generously, just as he had praised Yage's taijutsu during his battle with 8 gates Ge. As a reward, I've decided to show you my full power. The 10 tails within 6 paths Madara roared, its chakra sweeping across Uchiha Madara like a raging storm. Boundless aura pressed down on Li Daozun. His purple samsara eyes glared at him mercilessly, as if he were looking at a dead man. The next moment, a pitch black spear composed entirely of yin-yang release appeared in 6 paths Madara's hand. It was the Amanoma spear, the sword of creation. 6 paths Madara waved his right hand, and the Amanoma spear gently thrust forward. Immediately, numerous pitch black truth-seeking jades rushed towards Li Daozun. Li Daozun stared nervously at the flying black truth-seeking jades, sensing a sense of mortal danger. What is this? Why does it feel so threatening? No, I can't underestimate this small black sphere. Dark Soul Defense. Li Daozun waved his hand, and a vast black mist appeared before him, forming a black defensive barrier. Dark Soul Defense. An intermediate earth-level fighting technique. The defense was formidable. But the next moment, something astonishing happened. The pitch black seeking truth jade pierced Li Daozun's black defensive barrier unimpeded. Six Paths Madara watched the seeking truth jade's successful breakthrough with a look of indifference, not joy, but rather of anticipation. The seeking truth jade was composed of yin-yang release, and his body had now transformed into the Six Paths mode. Combined, these two made his seeking truth jade completely defenseless against ordinary methods. This was a fundamental difference, not something that could be overcome by sheer numbers. In the ninja world, only immortal arts or those who possessed the power of the Six Paths could resist his seeking truth jade directly. In this Dou Qi continent, the only methods he could currently consider to resist his seeking truth jade were overwhelming spatial power, or overwhelming heavenly and earth power, natural energy. Li Daozun clearly possessed neither of these qualities. Six Paths Madara even believed that, even if Li Daozun exerted his full strength, he would be completely unable to break through his seeking truth jade's barrier, or withstand his seeking truth jade's attacks. The outcome of this battle was effectively sealed the moment he transformed into Six Paths mode. The pitch black seeking Dao jade pierced through the black defensive barrier, and, before Li Daozun's horrified gaze, instantly shattered both of his arms and legs. Li Daozun manipulated the elixir he had long been holding in his mouth and swallowed it, but no matter what, he was unable to restore his legs and arms. Six Paths Madara watched the scene grimly, unable to keep the seeking Dao jade out, and lacking the power of the Six Paths or the special properties of immortal arts. The injuries inflicted by the seeking Dao jade were irreversible. After you kill me, the curse of my soul palace will be engraved on your body, and you will face the soul palace's endless pursuit. My soul palace master is already a 5-star Daosheng, and the strongest member of the soul clan behind us possesses the strength of a 9-star Daosheng. I urge you not to be ungrateful. Li Daozun continued stubbornly, his voice trembling. After his recent battle with Uchiha Madara, he had a better understanding of his character. He was not the type to be easily persuaded, but rather someone who would only pick on the tough. If Uchiha Madara still resolutely refused, he would have only one last life-saving trump card left to use. This trump card was only available to him after he became the head of a Soul Palace branch. If this trump card didn't work, he would have to wait for death. Li Daozun used his soul power to perform several seals, and then an overwhelming black mist appeared before him, followed by an energy body shrouded in black energy. Welcome the 9 Celestial Lords. Li Daozun was clearly calling out the 9 Celestial Lords, one of the 9 Celestial Lords of the Soul Palace. As the head of a branch of the Soul Palace, he had the authority to do so. However, the one he summoned was definitely not the real body, but merely an energy clone. A blue figure appeared before Li Daozun, surveying the devastated battlefield. Then, looking at Li Daozun, whose hands and legs were completely broken, and in such a miserable state, he frowned unhappily. Li Fei, what exactly happened? Why has the branch of the Soul Palace become like this? Jiu Xianzhen demanded in a somewhat grim tone. Jiu Xianzhen, this was all done by the powerful being named Uchiha Madara. He chased the Guardian Wu, who was on a mission to the Gamma Empire, all the way to this Soul Palace branch, and then demolished it. At first, the fight with him was relatively easy. After using my killing move, I even thought I could kill him. But who knew he would become like this? He's a completely different person, and the nature of his fighting techniques has completely changed. I suspect the transformation technique this Uchiha Madara is using is a celestial level 1. Li Daozun respectfully shared the little he knew. Jiu Xianzhen raised an eyebrow, his attention focused on two things. The first was that this man named Uchiha Madara was pursuing Wu Ying, a subordinate he had personally selected at the Soul Palace Master's behest, to send to the Gamma Empire, to plunder the Zhao family's 2 ancient Emperor Jade. Could this Uchiha Madara be a member of one of the other 8 ancient clans, also desiring the Zhao family's Tush ancient Emperor Jade? This was Jiu Xianzan's speculation. This was not unheard of. As far as he knew, the ancient clans had even sent their precious princesses to the Xiao family for the Tush ancient Emperor Jade. Another concern was Uchiha Madara's possession of a heavenly grade fighting skill. Heavenly grade fighting skills, no matter the level of combat, could undoubtedly play a significant role in enhancing strength, unless the gap in Dou Qi realm was too great. Jiu Xianzan sneered and looked at Uchiha Madara before him. Once we kill this man, we'll plunder his soul. All the credit for his heavenly grade fighting skills and the Tush ancient Emperor Jade will be his. Six Paths Madara remained expressionless, carefully examining the Soul Palace's 9 heavenly lords. Six Paths Madara's 5 senses were exceptional. When Li Daozhen spoke to this person the moment they appeared, he knew this was the Soul Palace's 9 heavenly lords. He had long heard of the Soul Palace's 9 celestial lords from Yao Lao. They were the 9 most accomplished individuals in the entire Soul Palace, reaching the Daozhen realm. It was said that even the weakest of the 9 celestial lords had reached the peak of the 8-star Daozhen realm, a level unattainable for ordinary people. However, Liu Dao Madara cast a disdainful glance at the Soul Palace 9 celestial lords, whose form constantly shifted between reality and illusion. If they had come in their true form, it would have been fine, but what right did a mere energy form have to fight him? Liu Dao Madara swung the Xian's Hao spear in his hand, and the pitch black seeking Dao Jade rushed towards the 9 celestial lords. A light flashed in the 9 celestial lords' eyes, and then a deeply dangerous aura emanated from them. With a gentle clench of his hands, the cold and gloomy energy between heaven and earth rapidly gathered towards the center, eventually forming a black crystal layer that enveloped his right palm. At the same time, the 9 celestial lords stepped into the void and mysteriously vanished under the gazes of the crowd. Six Paths Madara's pupils narrowed, and the light of Yangdun gathered in his hand. He formed a fist and swiftly swung it toward the void to the side. Wherever the fist blew, an illusory figure suddenly emerged and fiercely collided with Uchiha Madara's fist. This illusory figure was none other than Jiu Xianzan, who had reappeared after escaping into space. Sensed it? Jiu Xianzan was somewhat surprised as he engaged Six Paths Madara in this attack. His previous attack had unleashed his spatial abilities without reservation, but even so, Six Paths Madara had managed to sense his blow and successfully defend himself. It seemed that Uchiha Madara's spatial abilities were not weak. Six Paths Madara's eyes were cold as they collided with their fists. A powerful gust of wind instantly erupted from the point of collision, shaking and distorting the surrounding space. What is your strength? The wind surged, and Jiu Xianzan's figure emerged, his expression changed by the surging energy flowing from his arm. He was immediately knocked back more than 10 steps by Six Paths Madara's palm. Although its perception of the Dou Qi realm was merely that of a Dou Huang, the power it unleashed was no less impressive than his own. What kind of monster was this? Humph. Six Paths Madara snorted coldly, tapping the immortal staff in midair. Though he was about to be pushed back, Six Paths Madara didn't retreat a single step. He hadn't held back in that previous clash, unleashing the full force of his chakra and physical strength, but even so, he hadn't gained the upper hand against the energy entity. If it weren't for the Six Paths mode's enhanced physique, he would likely have suffered a head-on defeat. This was something the proud Madara couldn't accept. He immediately set a goal for himself. After this battle, he would cultivate his physical strength to the point where he could rival an 8th tier demonic beast. But for now, he had to first eliminate this energy entity that was trying to challenge him. I'll tell you if I win. Six Paths Madara hurled the Amanuma spear. A jet black light streaked through the sky, leaping across space towards the 9 heavens lord. Celestial Master, be careful. His attack is very strange, Li Daozhen warned from the side. Jiu Xianzan's expression darkened. He could sense the danger this throw posed to him. He formed a series of hand seals with lightning speed, and a deep, muffled roar emanated from his throat. The cold and gloomy energy of the surrounding heaven and earth quickly condensed into massive energy palms, each 100 feet long. These palms whistled towards the Six Path Madara. The 100-foot-long energy palms contrasted starkly with the meter-square black Xianzu spear, but Jiu Xianzan's attack still failed to achieve an overwhelming advantage in Dou Qi. While Jiu Xianzun himself might have a chance of suppressing Madara Xianzu's spear, the idea of suppressing him with the power of a single energy body was undoubtedly a pipe dream. The massive energy palms were also directly pierced by the Xianzu spear, which was crafted from yin yang release. However, the Xianzu spear, after breaking through Jiu Xianzun's attack, continued to charge towards Jiu Xianzun with a fierce momentum. Of course, at the same time, the remaining portion of the energy palm, unpierced by the Xianzu spear, also rushed towards Six Paths Madara. From an observer's perspective, this should have been a mutually destructive situation. The Xianzu spear rapidly closed across the distance. Jiu Xianzun tried to escape, but found the surrounding space completely confined. The pitch black spear pierced his entire chest. A power different from Dou Qi, but equally powerful, permeated his body, rapidly depleting the energy in his energy body, making it increasingly ethereal. Jiu Xianzun's face darkened. This attack forced him to disappear. Before disappearing, Jiu Xianzun looked into the distance. His energy palm had also struck Uchiha Madara, who logically should have been seriously injured. However, the result was beyond Jiu Xianzun's expectations. Amidst the drifting dust, a large pitch black sphere appeared in the sky. Then, it shrank toward a point, and Six Paths Madara emerged from it. With a slight flick of the sage's staff, the sphere transformed into a seeking truth jade, rising once again behind Six Paths Madara. Despite his powerful attack, this Uchiha Madara remained unscathed. "You're not from the 8 ancient clans, are you?" 9 Celestial Venerable said before disappearing. Of course, the 8 ancient clans can never compare to the noble Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan's name will eventually become the most revered in this world, Uchiha Madara said proudly. Indeed, the Uchiha clan of the ninja world was far weaker than the 8 ancient clans of the Dou Qi continent. But after leaving the ninja world, and entering this new world, he, Uchiha Madara, was truly an Uchiha. A powerful figure from an idle force. "I'll consider sparing you, if I don't kill Li Fei. But if you do, expect the Soul Palace to hunt you endlessly," 9 Celestial Venerable said, his figure becoming increasingly ethereal. "If I kill him, will your Soul Palace send powerful warriors to hunt me down?" Six Paths Madara asked with interest. "Indeed." Six Paths Madara sneered. The seeking Dao Jade leaped across space and instantly wiped Li Fei, whose arms and legs were completely severed, from this world. "Come and hunt me down. The more, the better." "Very good." The 9 Heavenly Venerables energy form chuckled in anger, leaving behind 2 final words before vanishing completely. "Haha. Want to threaten him? The one who can threaten him hasn't even been born yet." Six Paths Madara teleported to the slain Li Fei's soul, lifting it high in his right hand. The purple ripples of his Samsara rippled, and instantly a flood of memories flooded into Six Paths Madara's mind. Six Paths Madara truly understood the Soul Palace and the locations of its 2 other branches in the northwest region. After absorbing the souls, Six Paths Madara flew away. Soul Palace, huh. If he encountered anyone who came after him, he would kill them. But the Soul Palace's pursuit wouldn't affect Madara's current plans. His next goal was clear: to travel to the Blackhorn region and obtain the Sea Heart Flame from Yao Leo's apprentice, and if possible, to Canon Academy to obtain the Fallen Heart Flame. The former was of little concern to Madara, but as for the latter, he was eager to know who was stronger, him now or the old man he'd met the other day, claiming to be the Dean of Canon Academy. In the sky, Six Paths Madara's figure gradually faded, leaving behind only the devastated ruin of the Soul Palace branch. Meanwhile, in Zhongzhou, Jiu Xianzun, in his room, suddenly opened his eyes and sneered. "Uchiha Madara, huh. You're so ignorant. Whether you come to Zhongzhou or not, you're dead." Jiu Xianzun's eyes revealed an extremely cold look. To think he could single-handedly challenge a behemoth like the Soul Palace was naive. The Soul Palace was backed by the Soul Clan, the most powerful of the 8 ancient clans. The Uchiha clan. What the hell? P.S. This is truly a 3-in-1 chapter. I'm begging for recommendations and monthly votes. These should be the last few days I'll be asking for recommendations and monthly votes. Also, I've realized that instead of writing about battles, I'm just talking about the water. The battles are so one after another, and I want to add some daily routines to break things up. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to the Blackhorn territory, to show off my prowess and beat up a few ignorant kids to help me break things up. Chapter 92 Chapters 94 to 97 Blackhorn Region, Maple City. Those who are willing will take the bait. The Blackhorn region, a unique territory formed outside of Canon Academy out of chaos, is a mystery to many on the continent. While many on the continent are puzzled by the existence of such a chaotic region, so alien to the ancient and time-honored Canon Academy, its existence is a reality. Despite years of suppression, the Blackhorn region continues to expand at an astonishing rate, its unstoppable nature rendering those intent on suppressing it powerless. The Blackhorn region is immensely vast, and after years of expansion, it has practically become a distinct nation. The only difference from other empires is that, while other empires dominate, this region is a war of attrition. Various factions constantly clash and slaughter for their own interests, creating a chaotic mess akin to a pile of loose sand. However, while the Blackhorn region's chaos is renowned across the continent, the high-level techniques, fighting techniques, elixirs, and other rare items that flow through it attract many powerful individuals from across the continent. Regardless, these items are essential for further advancement on the path to becoming a powerful being. Such temptations are undoubtedly fatal to some powerful individuals. Therefore, the Blackhorn region can be said to be a unique place, where both danger and opportunity coexist. A detached white-robed figure soared from the sky, surveying the expanding pitch-black plain before slowly descending. This figure was, of course, Liu Daoban. Liu Daoban had memorized the map of the Blackhorn region long before, having visited the map shop in Haberdong in the Tagor Desert. He knew that the vast black plains before him were the gateway to the Blackhorn region. Entering this vast black plains meant entering the Blackhorn region, a chaotic world rumored to be at odds with the outside world. Landing on the plain, Liu Daoban surveyed the vast expanse. A monotonous black stretched as far as the eye could see. The slightly dim sky evoked a sense of oppression and irritation. It was no wonder that such a place fostered chaotic rules. Is there no one in sight? Liu Daoban closed his eyes and began to sense. After entering 6 paths mode, his perception range increased significantly, far exceeding the simple tens of kilometers of the original range. A moment later, 6 paths Madara opened his eyes and tapped the immortal staff in the air. Space rippled slightly, and 6 paths Madara's figure instantly vanished. In 6 paths mode, his affinity for space was heightened, and his spatial abilities were more adept. Using these abilities, he could now teleport within a certain range. A moment passed. When he reappeared, 6 paths Madara appeared before a group of tents, from which voices could be heard faintly. Slowly approaching the tribe's gate, 6 paths Madara could sense a wave of murderous intent bearing down on him. Then, a long arrow suddenly pierced the air, piercing the grass before him. The trembling tail of the arrow indicated that the shooter had no intention of sparing anyone alive. You, the newbie in the Blackhorn territory, aren't you? Don't you know the rule of providing road supplies when you're within 100 meters of another tribe? A figure leaped forward and shouted. As everyone noticed what was happening, they folded their arms and watched with amusement. Liu Daoban's face was impassive. He directed one hand at the long arrow he had just stuck in the ground, unleashing his powers of attraction and repulsion. The next moment, the arrow pierced the air with a sharp sound, leaving a trail of black shadows as it hurtled towards the leaping figure. A single arrow struck the man dead in the throat. After witnessing this, the previously amused crowd froze for a moment before quickly extinguishing their smiles. Having lived in the Blackhorn region for years, they knew Liu Daoban was a ruthless and decisive individual. Such individuals were the ones who would survive the longest and best in the region, so it was best not to provoke them. Liu Daoban slowly surveyed the crowd, the shift in their expressions having been evident to him. They were surprisingly sensible. It seemed the law of the jungle in the Blackhorn region was even more severe than elsewhere. Standing outside the door, 6 paths Madara's voice, faint and diffused by chakra, said, "Does anyone have a detailed map of the Blackhorn region?" His words were imbued with the alluring power of illusion. Anyone who truly knew the map would inevitably step forward. A slightly portly figure stepped forward. "I'm a merchant traveling the Black Plains, carrying the most detailed map. But sir, I'll be honest. Even with a map, finding your destination is difficult. Black storms often appear, obscuring the sky. In such times, a map is useless. Only experienced individuals can successfully navigate these storms. But since you're new here, you probably don't have this experience, do you? I see you're quite capable. How about you join our caravan? We'll guide you out of the Black Plains, and you'll help us out if we run into trouble. How about that? Six Paths Madara looked at the portly figure with indifference. He extended his hand, and a powerful gravitational pull erupted from it, instantly drawing the man towards him. The power of the human path was activated, and the fat man's soul had been read by Six Paths Madara. With another movement of his right hand, the fat man fell to the ground, and the ring in his hand passed into Six Paths Madara's grasp. The next moment, Six Paths Madara's immortal staff flicked through the air and vanished on the spot. Space transfer, that lord just now. Seeing this scene, countless people in the small tribe were stunned. They had never seen anyone use such an ability. However, space transfer was known to be only wielded by high-level Daozang or even Daozun. And just now, they had encountered such a great god. Fortunately, they had not angered this great god, otherwise they would have been killed without a burial place. For a moment, everyone was terrified. Daozun, the strongest person on the Blackhorn region's blacklist, was only a Daozang, and they had encountered such a powerful being. The Blackhorn region was about to change. After Madara left, the people only expressed admiration for him, without any mockery or abuse. As for the fainted fat man and the young man struck dead by an arrow, no one paid any attention to them. This was the chaotic Blackhorn territory. There were no written rules here. The only rule here was that the strongest prevailed. Across the pitch black plain, a white figure flew swiftly through the sky. At that moment, Uchiha Madara pulled out a yellowed map from his bosom and slowly unfolded it. The map was strikingly detailed with small black dots and a blue star. The dots represented cities within the Blackhorn territory, while the blue star represented Canon Academy, the heart of the region. Uchiha Madara had obtained this information from the soul of the man who had just spoken. Furthermore, Madara knew that these cities were controlled by specific factions. For example, the closest city, Black Seal City, belonged to the Eight Gates, a faction whose leader ranked in the top 10 of the Blacklist. The Blacklist served as a ranking of the strongest in the Blackhorn territory. The first and second places were rather mysterious, something the fat man had no idea about. However, the third placed figure on the blacklist was none other than Uchiha Madara's target, Han Feng, the Medicine Emperor, a master of peak Dou Huang power and master of the heart flame of the Sea of Strange Fire. Han Feng's whereabouts were easy to track down, as he single-handedly ruled the city named after him, Maple City. Han Feng, as the Blackhorn region's foremost alchemist, possessed extensive connections with numerous factions within the region, and therefore held no fear of anyone seeking to harass him. If anyone did, they would be attacked and ultimately annihilated. Normally, this was indeed the case. However, Six Paths Madara put away the map and chuckled softly. For those who were sufficiently powerful, this wasn't the case. Han Feng's publicity saved him considerable time. He could simply head directly to Maple City. After a brief search of the map, Madara used teleportation to head towards Maple City. This teleportation ability was now incredibly handy, offering far greater convenience than conventional flight. Along the way, Madara encountered several black storms that terrified the people of the Blackhorn region, but he dispersed them with a single blow. As a natural product, these black storms were indeed powerful, but that was only relative to the Blackhorn region's Dou Huang level experts. To Madara, these black storms were nothing. In the Blackhorn region, Maple City, as the city, governed by Han Feng, the foremost alchemist in the Blackhorn region, Maple City was bustling with activity, its streets and alleys resembling bustling markets. But in the heart of Maple City lay a bamboo forest, a stark contrast to the bustling market outside. This bamboo forest was heavily fortified, forcing ordinary people to indiscriminately attack, even if they approached within a certain range. Many were killed by the bamboo forest guards each year for this very reason. Despite its tranquility, this place remained a forbidden spot for many in Maple City. Deep within the forest, stood a bamboo building, its lush greenery akin to emerald green, permeated by a faint bamboo fragrance. Inside the bamboo building, in a tall, window-side bamboo room, a man sat cross-legged, dressed in an alchemist's robe. On the back, an intricately crafted character for Feng Maple was inscribed. He was concentrating intently on a prescription in his hands, his gaze fixed on the subject, his focus undivided. After a moment, his expression suddenly changed. With a muffled groan, he stood up, his brow furrowed, and he clutched his forehead, coughing rapidly. The coughing lasted for a long moment before slowly subsiding. The man exhaled deeply, gritted his teeth, and whispered, "Damn old man, if you had given me the burning art to practice, everything would have been fine. What a bullshit about a bad heart. My alchemy talent is far superior to yours." His voice softened, but his clenched fists betrayed the anger and hatred within him. This man was, of course, Hanfeng, Yao Chen's, Yao Lao, former disciple. Even though Yao Chen had once cared deeply for Hanfeng, taking him on voyages, and training him with all his might, Hanfeng ultimately succumbed to the temptation of profit, and murdered his master. People are sometimes like this. Perhaps when there's no temptation, they can grow safely and healthily into upright individuals. But the mere presence of temptation can lead them astray, and lead to evil. Hanfeng narrowed his eyes, and flicked his fingertips. A deep blue flame, like clear lake water, mysteriously emerged from the man's body, finally enveloping him tightly. This deep blue flame was quite strange, appearing to resemble a pool of clear lake water flowing. However, the most authentic senses clearly revealed that this was not water, but a flame. The sea heart flame, ranked 15th on the list of strange fires, was a strange fire produced through countless years of tempering in the depths of the ocean. Hanfeng gazed at the sea heart flame in his hand, and began to practice the burning technique. Yao Lao hadn't taught Hanfeng the burning technique back then. Hanfeng had secretly studied it on his own, only then obtaining the second half of the burning technique. But the second half is only the second half. Without the first half of the burning technique, Hanfeng struggled to unleash the true power of the sea heart flame, a strange fire, and often suffered backlash from the technique. Recently, however, he had heard that Canon Academy possessed a strange fire. Upon hearing this news, Hanfeng suddenly felt a strong desire. If he could obtain this fire, perhaps he could deduce the true burning technique. Clenching his fists, Hanfeng looked toward Canon Academy. Unfortunately, Canon Academy had concealed the strange fire so well that he had no idea where it lay, so he could only wait. But at that moment, Hanfeng suddenly raised his head, his sharp gaze darting out beyond the bamboo forest. He sensed a strange, and yet faintly familiar energy fluctuation. This feeling, Hanfeng whispered softly, tapping his forehead with his fingers. Countless pieces of information flashed through his mind. After a long moment, Hanfeng's entire body suddenly stiffened. His eyes flashed like lightning as he once again shot towards the source of the energy fluctuations. His voice was filled with surprise and astonishment. This seems to be the fluctuation of the strange fire, and if he wasn't mistaken, this fluctuation of the strange fire appeared right in his Maple City. This was truly a blessing from heaven. Although Hanfeng sensed the presence of the strange fire, he remained calm and didn't lose his composure. Hanbeng. Hanfeng suddenly turned around and shouted in a deep voice. As soon as the voice fell, a ghostly figure flashed out and finally appeared in the bamboo house, kneeling on one knee. Although his voice was hoarse, it was still respectful. "Master, what are your orders? Take these tokens and notify the Yunlan Sect, the 8 gates, and the Blood Sect, and ask their sect leaders to come to Fengcheng within 2 hours. I need their help with something. In addition, you must deliver these 2 tokens to that place in person. Please come there as well, gentlemen." Hanfeng casually waved out several strangely shaped tokens and threw them at the kneeling figure. The latter also took them as fast as lightning and just put them into the storage ring when 2 more tokens, 1 gold and 1 silver, shot over. Taking the unique gold and silver tokens with both hands, the previously expressionless figure's face was slightly moved. He whispered, "Master, are you inviting them too? They won't even see ordinary people. This time, I'm afraid you'll need something they'd like. Just do as I say. If I can achieve my goal, what they want won't be a problem," Hanfeng said with a calm wave. "Yes." Hearing this, the figure no longer hesitated and responded respectfully. Then, the figure quickly plunged into the darkness and disappeared. Watching the shadow disappear, Hanfeng slowly exhaled, adjusted his clothes, and headed towards the source of the strange fire within the city. The second strange fire, he had arrived. This sudden strange fire fluctuation in Fengcheng was naturally emitted by Uchiha Madara. Using spatial teleportation as a means of travel, Uchiha Madara moved very quickly, reaching Fengcheng in no time. The reason for the eruption of the strange fire was a certain induction between them, though it was so subtle that ordinary people couldn't detect it. However, Madara was not one of them. With his perception fully activated, the entire Maple City was enveloped by Madara's awareness. The moment Han Feng took out the sea heart flame, Uchiha Madara sensed Han Feng's presence. Upon sensing Han Feng's presence, Madara smiled with a hint of amusement. He sensed that Han Feng was also heading his way. It seemed that Han Feng and he shared the same idea. Upon realizing this, Madara turned his gaze. Not far ahead of him, a furious curse suddenly erupted. In the queue, a bald man, growing impatient with the wait, lifted up a thin man in front of him. Ah! The bald man had barely finished his words when the thin man he had lifted spun around, a dagger flashing from his sleeve. With a flash of cold light, it stabbed the bald man's throat fiercely. Although the bald man reacted quickly, jerking his neck back and misaligning the dagger, which only pierced the bald man half an inch below his throat, blood still gushed out, and a shrill scream rang out from the bald man's mouth. After severely wounding the bald man with a blow, the thin man swung his body and dove into the nearby bushes like a loach, disappearing. Bastard, I'm going to tear you apart. The bald man, having lost his mind, pulled out the dagger with bloodshot eyes and rushed into the bushes. But a moment later, a voice similar to the previous scream rang out from the bushes. Madara watched this scene with interest. Although both men were very weak, the scene brought back some memories of the ninja world. The frail man was only a fighter, while the bald man was a master. Yet, despite this vast difference in Dou Qi, it was the frail man who ultimately emerged victorious. The same is true in the ninja world. Below the 6 paths level, there's no absolute disparity in strength. With exceptional combat awareness, a Chunin can easily defeat a Jonin. This Black Corner region is truly fascinating. Madara continued walking when suddenly, at the end of the street, the sound of horse hooves echoed. The entire street erupted in chaos. A dark figure streaked down from the end, knocking over countless people in its path. Get out of my way, if you know what's good for you, or you'll be trampled to death and I won't be responsible. The young woman declared with wild pride, clearly having been wielding her power in Qi City for a long time. In a flash, the young woman appeared not far from Madara. Looking at the unflinching white figure in front of her, the black-clothed girl frowned. Her slender hands grasped the whip, and then the black whip flew out with a crisp sound of tearing the air, and was swung directly at Madara's head. Madara's face was calm, and he casually clenched his palm, grabbed the whip in his hand, and then pulled it hard. Ah! A huge force came from the other end of the whip, and the red-clothed girl was immediately pulled off the horse in pain, and sat down on the ground. How dare you attack this young lady? Uncle Wang, teach him a lesson for me. As her butt touched the cold, dirty ground, the black-clad girl's face suddenly turned as hen, and she shouted. An elderly figure appeared before the black-haired girl. My friend, my young lady is indeed a bit naughty, but she is a girl after all. Your ruthless attack is a bit inappropriate. The old man first glanced at the black-clad girl, whose face flushed with anger, then looked at Uchiha Madara, his brow furrowed. As a 6-star Dou Huang, he could naturally sense that Madara was a 5-star Dou Huang, and he felt a strong sense of threat from Madara, forcing him to treat him with caution. Madara didn't answer. He raised his right hand, and blue lightning instantly erupted like a nimble snake, passing over the old man, and striking the black-clad girl. Instantly, the black-clad girl's body was charred and unconscious, becoming a true black-clad girl. If you want to teach me a lesson for her, just come on. After all this talk, it seems you still lack confidence in your own abilities. The old man's expression was grim. After checking on the black-clad girl, he knew she was most likely dead. He suddenly spoke in a deep voice. Do you know who you've provoked? You've provoked the master of this city, the direct disciple of the Medicine Emperor, Master Han Feng. Countless people from Fengcheng were watching the spectacle unfold. They felt a sense of relief at the sight of the black-clad girl in such a miserable state. Normally, she had caused so much trouble, annoying many. Medicine Emperor Han Feng. Heh. Madara chuckled softly, his disdain and contempt evident. At that moment, a blue figure suddenly swooped down from the city center, appearing above the streets, its overwhelming aura bearing down on the old man and Uchiha Madara. How dare you? When did I ever allow her to act in my name? Today's incident is entirely her own fault. The figure that had suddenly appeared was Han Feng. While Han Feng spoke so, and his aura was indeed overwhelming the old man, he was actually testing Uchiha Madara. The moment he first met him, he sensed a distinct sense of danger and oppression. Though he was only a 5-star Dou Huang, he was definitely no ordinary figure. If he were, he wouldn't have possessed such a strange fire. Han Feng glanced at Uchiha Madara. Despite his peak Dou Huang aura, the man showed no sign of discomfort. It seemed he had some extraordinary qualities. It would be better to wait until all the powerful warriors he had summoned arrived before attacking him. City Lord. The old man wasn't as relaxed as Uchiha Madara. While struggling to hold on, he looked at Han Feng in confusion. Han Feng didn't respond, instead looking at Uchiha Madara with a smile on his face. Sir, I'm sorry to have caused you trouble. If it's not a big deal, I'd like to invite you to my home for a visit as an apology. Madara glanced at Han Feng, then at the black-clad girl and the old man. He could clearly sense Han Feng's murderous intent, yet Han Feng's expression suggested a desire to make friends. This was quite rare in the ninja world. While the overall level of the ninja world wasn't as high as that of the Dou Qi continent, its ninjas possessed the ability to distinguish between different types of murderous aura. This meant that even enemies wouldn't resort to such feints, but would instead engage in direct confrontation. Was he trying to stall for time, waiting for the arrival of a few powerful warriors? 6 paths. Madara's current perception range was incredibly vast, or 1,000 miles, no exaggeration. P.S. The 4 Hokage of the Impure World War II, upon being released from the Impure World War II, all displayed trans-ninja level perception abilities. This was no exaggeration. Therefore, Madara could sense several powerful auras heading towards Fengcheng. If Madara was right, these were likely reinforcement requested by Medicine King Han Feng. This was a good idea. They could simply wipe out the powerful forces of the Blackhorn territory in one fell swoop, which would yield considerable resources. Okay, Madara said. Please. Medicine Emperor Han Feng continued smiling as he led the way for Uchiha Madara. The fish had taken the bait. Yes, the fish had indeed taken the bait. P.S. The storyline in the Blackhorn region will go by quite quickly. Most of it will be finished tomorrow, and all of it by the day after tomorrow at the latest. You can keep reading for the next 3 days. Chapter 93, Chapter 98 to 99. Beat the Black Corner region all-style in loop. In the bamboo forest, Madara sat quietly, gently holding a cup of tea. With the transcendent aura of the 6 paths mode, it seemed as if Madara was the master of the forest, while Han Feng was a guest. Medicine Emperor Han Feng sat awkwardly nearby. He had recently engaged in a long conversation with Madara, but Madara either ignored him or responded with only a few terse words. So, for the entire time, Han Feng had only learned Madara's name, and that he was from the Uchiha clan. Putting down his teacup, Madara looked at Han Feng, retracting his outward perception. Fish, they're all here. You called all these people here because you want the strange fire in my hand, right? Uchiha Madara said calmly, a ball of cyan flame rising from Madara's hand. Han Feng's eyes suddenly blazed with desire, but his expression remained smiling. Mr. Madara, what are you talking about? I didn't call anyone here, including you. There are 7 Dou Huangs. Isn't that enough? Madara said calmly, taking a sip of his tea. What Han Feng had done, what people had he summoned, how could it possibly have escaped his perception? As soon as Uchiha Madara finished speaking, 6 figures appeared in the bamboo forest. Anyone with even a little bit of information in the Blackhorn region would be amazed to see these 6 figures. The reason was simple. These 6 figures were all ranked in the top 10 on the Blackhorn region's blacklist. Elders Jin and Yin, excelling in gold attributed Dou Qi and thunder attributed Dou Qi respectively, were at the peak of the 9-star Dou Huang realm, ranking 1st and 2nd on the blacklist, and together they could battle a Dou Zhang. Elder Ban, a 7-star Dou Huang, ranked 4th on the blacklist. Fan Lao, Lord of Dusk City in the Blackhorn region and leader of the Blood Sect, excelled in blood attributed Dou Qi, a 5-star Dou Huang, ranked 5th on the blacklist. Yan Huang, leader of the Earth Flame sect in the Blackhorn region, excelled in fire attributed Dou Qi, or 3-star Dou Huang, ranked 9th on the blacklist. Yuan Yi, Lord of Black Seal City in the Blackhorn region and leader of the 8 Gates, was a 2-star Dou Huang, ranked 10th on the blacklist. Add to that Han Feng himself, Lord of Fengcheng in the Blackhorn region, peak Dou Huang, and 3rd on the blacklist. 7 of the top 10 on the blacklist were gathered here. This was truly unbelievable. Han Feng, now that he's spoken out, there's no need for us to hide it anymore, said the Gold Elder, one of the 2 Gold and Silver Elders. You're really making a big fuss. I thought you only invited the 2 of us, but I didn't expect you to invite so many. This must have been quite a price to pay. I was wondering why. Now it seems you want the strange fire he holds. And indeed, the allure of strange fire to alchemists is unimaginable to us, said the Silver Elder, one of the 2 Gold and Silver Elders. The other 4 blacklist experts remained silent, probably believing there was no need to speak. Even if we didn't count them, and only count the Gold, Silver Elders, and Han Feng, there was no one in the Blackhorn region who could resist them, save for the Cannon Academy in the heart of the region. With these 4, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish in the Blackhorn region. Han Feng snorted coldly, no longer concealing himself. A surge of fighting spirit erupted from his body, overwhelming him with unreserved momentum. Since you already know this, will you obediently hand over your strange fire, or will we kill you and take it away? 2 choices, your choice. Hearing Han Feng's words, the other 6 also unleashed their own might, pressing down on Uchiha Madara. The 2 elders, Gold and Silver, emanated golden light and blue lightning, respectively. These 2 powerful auras resembled 2 devouring tigers, seemingly intent on tearing Uchiha Madara to death. Madara, not Madara, his expression calm, a fiery white light enveloping him. He then suddenly charged forward with a roar like a wild beast. Fan Leo's expression turned bloodthirsty, his eyes turning blood red, and a thick, murderous aura erupted, charging straight at Uchiha Madara. The Flame Emperor was engulfed in red flames, rising to the sky like the cry of a phoenix, exuding a powerful sense of intimidation. Black mists emerged from Yuan Yi's body, and under the influence of Black Dou Qi, an oppressive aura erupted. 7 Dou Huang masters on the blacklist simultaneously unleashed their auras, sending a violent gust of wind through the surrounding area, and darkening the sky. All 7 of them simultaneously revealed arrogant smiles. Tremble. Fear. This is the power of the Blackhorn region's all-star lineup. It seems you're very confident in your own abilities. Ban remained expressionless, setting down the small teacup in his hand and slowly standing. As Bang rose, an aura 100 times more powerful than the combined power of the 7 Blackhorn region masters instantly enveloped Maple City. Lightning and thunder roared in the sky, and torrential rain fell, as if an ancient beast were enduring a calamity. Countless children in Maple City cried, and everyone in the city gazed up at the sky in fear. This level of aura far exceeded their imagination. Blue skull ribs enveloped Uchiha Madara, then rapidly expanded outward, muscles and veins gradually fleshing out, forming a 2-headed 4-armed half Susanoo. A Karasu Tengu mask graced its face, and 4 blue swords, over 10 meters long, were grasped in its hands. This wasn't the end. The half Susanoo continued to expand, 2 sturdy powerful blue legs appearing below, transforming into a full-body Susanoo. Already 30 meters tall, a veritable giant for the 7 men of the Blackhorn territory. Further below, as Madara's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan's power poured forth frantically, the full-body Susanoo began to rapidly rise upwards. A thick suit of armor covered the Susanoo, and gigantic wings appeared behind it. The 500-meter tall full-body Susanoo appeared within the bamboo forest, 200-meter long, massive blue swords appearing in its hands. The mere act of its appearance destroyed the entire bamboo forest. Countless people throughout Maple City, bewildered by the awe-inspiring, fully formed Susanoo, were at a loss for words. Uchiha Madara folded his arms, his gaze fixed on the world from aloft, his gaze dignified. Coincidentally, I'm quite confident in my own abilities. Almost half a day had passed since leaving the Soul Palace branch, a considerable amount of time already spent there. It was time to seize the Sea Heart Flame. So, Madara didn't hold back, unleashing his immense power, intent on a swift and decisive victory. They were just a bunch of ants, 2 chapters would suffice. Meanwhile, the 7 men from the Blackhorn territory had lost their previous arrogance, their eyes filled with utter fear. The 2 elders, gold and silver, trembled and shuddered under Uchiha Madara's aura. Hanfeng, you. The pressure of his presence silenced them. Yet, from their brief words, it's easy to discern the depths of grief, anger, and powerlessness the 2 elders, gold and silver, felt at that moment. The power displayed by Uchiha Madara was simply too great for them to provoke. He was courting death. This was at least a peak Daozang powerhouse. How could they possibly fight him? Even the 2 strongest peak Dou Huang masters, gold and silver, were utterly defeated, let alone the other few lesser Dou Huang masters who had arrived. They felt even more powerless under Madara's imposing presence, their bodies trembling with only strength, unable to speak. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Hanfeng's face sank, clearly unprepared to have provoked such a powerful god. Why would such a powerful being come to the Blackhorn territory? What could possibly attract him there? Hanfeng, are you still going to hide? Hand over your strange fire. Madara's voice echoed, causing Hanfeng's pupils to shrink. The others on the blacklist also turned their gazes on Hanfeng. Hanfeng possessed a strange fire. Why hadn't they heard of it? Furthermore, if Hanfeng possessed a strange fire, why would he seek this second one? How could 2 strange fires coexist in the same person? However, while they couldn't understand why Hanfeng possessed a strange fire, the blacklist members understood one thing: Uchiha Madara was targeting Hanfeng. We are willing to help you capture Hanfeng, and please spare our lives, the 2 most insightful elders, gold and silver, declared. Upon hearing this, the other powerful individuals quickly echoed their willingness. Hanfeng stared in disbelief at the 6 individuals he had invited, who had mercilessly defected at the last minute. In the Blackhorn region, he had always been the one to cause people to defect to his side at the last minute, but he never imagined he would suffer the exact opposite fate. The 2 elders, gold and silver, and the others looked at Hanfeng with disdain. No matter how powerful the alchemy was, it was nothing but an empty promise. Compared to their own lives, it was nothing. Uchiha Madara scoffed. To think that this would convince him to spare them was truly naive. He only extends an olive branch to those with sufficient potential and a certain level of strength, just as he extended it to Uchiha Sasuke after he opened his eternal Mangekyou Sharingan during the 4th war. He simply disdains weaklings like these. Moreover, their flanking behavior only lowers his opinion of them even further. You guys. You're not qualified yet. With that, the massive Susanoo slashed down, its devastating aura appearing instantly. Endless rings of energy spread outward, and immense power cascaded down from the sky, leaving a deep sense of despair. The 7 Blackhorn territory members, the targets of Uchiha Madara's direct attack, knew they had reached a critical juncture. Even if death was inevitable, they had no choice but to forge ahead. Blood Sect Master Fan Leo waved his hand, and countless blood-colored energy threads swept out, strangely intertwining to form a massive blood-colored sphere. The blood-colored energy continued to gather, piercing through space like lightning, rushing towards the massive Susanoo sword. The Earth Flame Sect's Flame Emperor roared, and streaks of red flames appeared in the sky, dyeing the area around him a fiery crimson. A breathtakingly imposing fire phoenix condensed, emitting a high-pitched cry, and charging fearlessly forward. 8 Gates Master Yuan Yi opened his mouth, and a vast black mist gathered around him, forming a black spear that snapped forward like a powerful blue dragon. 7-star Dao Emperor Madara pressed his hands together, and a huge white light condensed from the air towards the center. A massive white energy cannon pierced the sky, and collided head-on with a whirring sound. Hanfeng's Azure Sea Heart Flame surged in his hand, and then blue flames filled the sky, forming a whale that swallowed thousands of miles, rushing towards Uchiha Madara. Finally, the 2 elders, gold and silver, joined forces to summon a massive golden lightning bolt, which descended from the sky with a rumbling sound. The 7 individuals from the Blackhorn territory had clearly unleashed their most powerful weapons. In such a life or death situation, no one would hold back. However, the strength of one's fighting spirit is not determined by the strength of one's convictions. Faced with overwhelming force, no matter what the 7 individuals did, they could only struggle. In their next life, they should be more careful about who they are targeting. The blue Susanoo sword slashed through, unsurprisingly shattering all 7 attacks, sending all 7 figures flying. After being sent flying, Han Feng, who was fortunately protected by the strange fire, remained in a near-death state. The other 6 were completely silent. The complete Susanoo was released, and Madara approached Han Feng, delivering a finishing blow. Han Feng rolled his eyes and fell silent. Uchiha Madara lightly tapped Han Feng with his right hand, and Han Feng vanished into nothingness, leaving only a ball of azure flame before him. This was the Sea Heart Flame, ranked 16th on the strange fire list. After storing it, Madara used the myriad heavenly attraction to gather the storage rings of the 7 people from the Blackhorn territory, including Han Feng. A quick glance at them all, and even the stoic Madara couldn't help but smile knowingly. The treasures contained in these 7 people's storage rings were simply countless. Precious medicinal herbs, various martial arts and fighting techniques, and scrolls of elixir recipes, all things he coveted. Han Feng's storage ring, in particular, held an especially rich collection. A faint blue light shone from it, its interior boasting an immense volume, almost like the combined capacity of countless smaller storage rings he had acquired at the beginning. This would make it much easier for him to carry whatever he needed. A good harvest. After absorbing the Sea Heart Flame tonight, he would head to Canon Academy. With these thoughts, Madara vanished in an instant, leaving Maple City. However, although Madara left Maple City, what he did in Maple City today, beheading 7 strong men in the top 10 of the blacklist. But it means that the sky of the Blackhorn region is going to change drastically. In less than half a day, this earth-shaking news spread throughout the Blackhorn region, shocking all forces. PS1, you are all very awesome, and it is very good to follow the reading. I give a thumbs up to all book friends. I was busy yesterday, so I could only update twice in the early morning. There will be another update today, but the time is uncertain. Then the book decided to update for free for another week, and it will be put on the shelves again when 3.1 comes out. Applause should be given here. PS2, there is actually a small loophole in Han Feng's part, but I guess none of you have discovered it. If no one has discovered it, then I won't change it. It's just a 2 or 3 chapters of extraneous parts. Thanks to Xiao Yan for the 1500 coin tip. Thanks to Inevitable for the 588 coin tip. Thanks to Sunday for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to Yukshida's Yujiozu for the 500 coin tip. Thanks to Nangang Wu, Traditional, Meng for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to Dandangao, Traditional, for the 100 coin tip. I often type on my computer, so I don't see them on my phone very often, but I'll be grateful for the tips. They're belated. And I can't spell traditional Chinese, so I'm sorry. My apologies to both of you. And, thanks to everyone who voted for recommendations, voted monthly, and followed along. This book will have another free chapter update for another week. Chapter 94, Chapters 100 to 101, Earth Rank Advanced Burning Technique. 3-star Dou Huang. In the Blackhorn region, at Canon Academy, a massive burst of energy erupted from a 500 meter tall, fully formed Susanoo, sensed by many of the formidable experts within Canon Academy. In the Vice Dean's office in the outer courtyard of Canon Academy, Dou Qi, a peak Dou Huang expert and Vice Dean of the outer courtyard, suddenly rose from his seat. This immense energy, only a few hundred miles away, was simply too powerful. Could such a powerful being exist in the Blackhorn region? The immense energy vanished completely after a short while, but Dou Qi remained uneasy. Such a massive force is definitely beyond the reach of a Dou Huang. Dao Zong or even Dao Zun is entirely possible. The old dean is away now, and even though Elder Qian Bei and Elder Qian Bei are here, we must proceed with caution. No, I must send someone to investigate. Dou Qi paused at this thought. With Dean Mang Xianqi away, many matters would need to be handled by him. Although Elder Qian Bei and Elder Qian Bei, the guardians of the academy, were both peak Dao Zong experts, Dou Qi still worried he wouldn't be able to handle the situation properly. Also, I need to get Uchiha to tone it down a bit lately. Otherwise, provoking such a powerful being is no joke. Dou Qi thought again. Uchiha, Dou Qi's granddaughter, was known as the Little Witch at Canon Academy. She had a unique and fiery personality, and she liked girls, so she'd gotten into a lot of trouble. So, Dou Qi was particularly worried about her. Special times call for special treatment. In a secret room in the inner courtyard of Canon Academy, a powerful being with Dou Qi at the level of Dou Zhang opened his eyes. This Dou Zhang wore a black robe, with white hair and beard, and his eyes were as cold as a blade. This was Su Qian, the Grand Elder of the inner court of Canon Academy, who oversaw all matters within the inner court. What a strong sense of oppression. Which Dou Zhan has come to the Blackhorn territory, and who has been so foolish as to provoke this Dou Zhan? Su Qian's experience was clearly greater than Wu Qian's. Having interacted more with elders Mang Xianqi and Qian Bei, he knew that this kind of power was definitely more than just Dou Zhang. Even a peak Dou Zhan would be far from this power. Su Qian pondered that with the Dou Zhan arriving in the Blackhorn region, the training of the inner court students would need to be temporarily adjusted. In the absence of Din Mang Xianqi, any Dou Zhan arriving at Canon Academy would undoubtedly pose a significant threat. Suddenly, the door to Su Qian's room was flung open by a delicate young woman with purple hair and white clothing. As soon as she entered, the girl shouted, "Old Su, did you sense an extremely powerful force? You must have sensed it. Who is that person? Because of this power, I'm so scared I don't even dare to steal the herbs." The girl's name was Yan. She was the transformed form of the ancient Taixu dragon. She was over 1,000 years old, but due to consuming the transformation grass too early, she maintained the appearance of a little girl. Meanwhile, Yan, with Dou Huang level strength, firmly held the top spot on the Canon Academy inner court power ranking. Su Qian puffed his beard and glared at Yan, giving her a slap on the head. "All you know is stealing herbs. How many high-grade herbs have you taken? Let me tell you, this power must have come from a Dou Zhan master. If you keep acting this careless these past few days, I won't be able to clean up your mess if you get into trouble." Yan rubbed her head. Okay, I got it. I'll just be more restrained for a few days. I don't know what a Dou Zhan master would be doing in the Blackhorn region. Wouldn't it be better to go to Zhang's house? Yan said somewhat gloomily. For the next few days, it seemed she would have to rob students in the inner courtyard. Yan's words reminded Su Qian that, while others might not know the most valuable item in Canon Academy, he did. The Fallen Heart Flame, known as a cheat for cultivation, and ranked 14th on the list of exotic fires, was a huge temptation even for a Dou Zhan. One could only hope that this Dou Zhan master wasn't going for the Fallen Heart Flame. In the Canon Academy library, two peak Dou Zhan masters opened their eyes. After a glance at each other, surprise was visible in each other's eyes. These two elders were the guardians of Canon Academy, Qian Mu and Bailey, known as the Qian Bei Leo. "Is this Dou Zhan level power?" Qian Mu asked uncertainly. "It's for sure. You might be mistaken, but the chances of both of us being wrong are very low." Bailey nodded. A Dou Zhan coming to a small place like the Blackhorn region is most likely targeting Canon Academy, and quite possibly even the Fallen Heart Flame. Let's be prepared and ready to activate the protective formation at any moment. Qian Mu confirmed this and said solemnly, "It would be great if the old Dean were here. For a semi-saint, a mere Dou Zhan would surely be easily controlled by him." Bailey sighed. "The old Dean is as elusive as a dragon. He'll definitely return as soon as he gets the news." Qian Mu said, "I hope this Dou Zhan isn't coming for us, otherwise another fierce battle will ensue." Bailey said. After talking for a while, the two closed their eyes again, but their minds were clearly no longer as calm as before. Besides the peak Dou Huang Hu Qian, Dou Zhang Su Qian, the peak Dou Zhang elders Qian Bei, and Yan, who possessed the bloodline of the Taixu ancient dragon king, two others within Canon Academy felt this immense power. They were Xiao Zuna, or rather, Princess Guzuna of the ancient clan, who had spent over a decade within the Xiao family, and her attendant, Ling Ying, an 8-star dark attributed Dou Huang. Atop a lush mountain behind Canon Academy, a young woman in a pale blue gown stood gracefully, her slender figure cinched by a purple sash, alluringly framing her figure. Facing the vast white mist beyond the mountaintop, her 3,000 strands of silky black hair flowed down her shoulders, finally reaching her slender waist. Standing with her hands behind her back, her slender figure, against the backdrop of the surrounding white mist, resembled a blooming blue lotus amidst the mundane world, ethereal and radiant with a unique aura. This woman, as if conceived from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, was so brilliant she was almost dazzling. A Dou Zhan expert has appeared in the Blackhorn territory. This is truly unimaginable. A golden flame rose from Ziozuna's beautiful eyes. It was the Golden Emperor's burning heaven flame, so well hidden by the ancient clan's secret technique. Miss, let's leave this troubled place immediately. Have you forgotten what I told you about the Daozun Master we met in the Jia Empire? That Daozun Master wasn't even afraid of the Soul Palace, even with the Soul Clan's support, and he pursued and killed a Soul Palace Daozun Guardian before leaving the Jia Empire. We wouldn't be afraid of such a person, even if we invoke the name of the ancient clan. Xiao Yan has already fulfilled his 3-year agreement, and he's done so with flying colors. Given enough time, I don't think the clan leader will underestimate him. But the clan leader is also urging us to leave. Miss, it's truly time for us to leave this northwest region. Feeling this power, Ling Ying was reminded of some unpleasant memories, and she offered earnest advice, both sweet and harsh. He didn't think it was necessary to stay in this northwest region, just for someone as insignificant as Xiao Yan. If Xiao Yan truly had the ability, he would eventually reach Zhongzhou. Otherwise, even if his daughter, Zuna, was willing to wait for Xiao Yan, Zuna's natural beauty, coupled with the ancient clan she represented, and the countless other suitors, would only leave Xiao Yan dumbfounded. Zuna had assigned him to protect Xiao Yan for over a year, but could she still have been there? In a quiet chamber, Uchiha Madara's right hand whirled, and a ball of ocean blue heart flame appeared in his hand, erupting with a shimmering light. Instantly, he devoured the flame, and began to practice the burning technique. The air in the quiet room, shrouded in sandalwood, was transparent and clear, giving off an ethereal feeling. Uchiha Madara sat cross-legged, his eyes closed. Waves of terrifying heat emanated from his body. Faintly, tiny ocean blue flames emanated from his pores, enveloping his entire form. Madara's expression remained calm, his mind completely absorbed in the refining infusion of the sea heart flame within him. The entire process of devouring and refining the sea heart flame was exceptionally smooth, perhaps due to Madara's having already devoured 3 different fires, and the still strong power of Kagutsuchi. If nothing unexpected happened, Madara would soon successfully refine the sea heart flame, and by then, he would possess 4 different fires within his body. If news of this spread, countless powerful figures in the Dou Qi continent would be envious. For ordinary people, possessing even 1 different fire is a truly incredible opportunity, but Uchiha Madara possessed 4, a truly incredible feat. It's no exaggeration to say that with 4 different fires, Uchiha Madara considered himself the most powerful figure in the Dou Qi continent in terms of their control over them. However, this was also thanks to Xiao Yan's burning technique. Without it, even if he possessed the power of Kagutsuchi, which allowed him to control flames, he wouldn't have been able to simultaneously absorb the 4 different fires within his body. However, this undoubtedly laid a solid foundation for Madara to become a true master in the realm of Dou Qi. As Madara's refining progressed, the temperature within the secret chamber rose steadily. The slowly burning sandalwood turned to ash and fell to the ground. At such temperatures, even a Daozun master wouldn't dare to linger for long. The violent energy permeating the air, if inhaled, was enough to cause their Dou Qi to surge. As time passed, the Dou Qi emanating from Uchiha Madara intensified, spreading from his body like waves on the ocean. After about a day, the temperature within the quiet room had reached a terrifying level. Because it was completely sealed, it felt like a steaming furnace. The surging air and the scorching heat tore through the very air, creating dark cracks in the air. The stone tables and chairs within the quiet room gradually melted, transforming into liquid that slowly dripped down, flowing throughout the room. Occasionally, bubbles would surface, quietly exploding with a faint, muffled sound. Uchiha Madara, seated cross-legged in the center, showed no sign of awakening, his breathing steady. The heat, which would reduce an ordinary person to ash with a single breath, flowed through his nostrils like 2 streams of air dragons, continuously drilling into his body. The stone tables melted, and liquid dripped silently, a subtle rhythmic sound echoing through the quiet room. But Uchiha Madara's figure remained motionless, as if he were in a state of stasis. If it weren't for the constant sense of the rising, vast aura, anyone would have mistaken him for a stone sculpture amidst the heat wave. Suddenly, a column of intensely blazing smoke erupted from the room, filling the air with a vast aura that had been silent for a day. Then, a clear, long-drawn howl suddenly resounded from the room, reaching the sky. The roar, mingled with an incredibly powerful Dou Qi, reverberated endlessly throughout the sky. Simply by absorbing the sea heart flame, Uchiha Madara's Dou Qi realm had risen from a 5-star Dou King to an 8-star Dou King, and it was clear that the story wasn't over yet. With Uchiha Madara at its center, a grey cloud suddenly appeared in the sky, stretching for hundreds of miles. Containing vast Dou Qi, it poured down towards Uchiha Madara like a giant funnel. The burning technique activated, sending countless Dou Qi pouring into Uchiha Madara's body. After absorbing the sea heart flame, Uchiha Madara's burning technique had clearly advanced from the mid-level earth rank to the advanced earth rank. Advanced earth rank techniques were a Dou Qi cultivation technique only accessible to most Daozun. Powered by the advanced earth rank burning technique, Uchiha Madara absorbed Dou Qi at an incredibly rapid rate. 8-star Dou Huang, 9-star Dou Huang, peak 9-star Dou Huang. Soon, Madara's Dou Qi realm reached the critical point between Dou Huang and Dou Huang. This threshold might be difficult for the average person, but for him, it was no problem at all. Break. Madara shouted inwardly, and a surge of Dou Qi surged towards the critical point. The Dou Qi fluctuations surrounding his entire body rapidly increased, and in a moment, Madara saw a sword. Dou Huang successfully advanced. This wasn't over yet. Vast quantities of Dou Qi continued to pour into Madara's body, and his Dou Qi realm continued to climb. 1-star Dou Huang, 2-star Dou Huang, 3-star Dou Huang. Finally, Madara's Dou Qi realm stopped at 3-star Dou Huang. Now, Madara could briefly stand in the void with his Dou Qi. Sensing the power within his body, Madara laughed heartily. If he could devour and refine 2 or 3 more kinds of strange fire, the burning technique should reach the heavenly stage, and his Dou Qi strength would approach his full potential. The fallen heart flame, here he comes. PS1, a fellow reader has a great idea, plant a sacred fruit tree on the Dou Qi continent. Then, the power of the Dou Qi continent would be transformed into a chakra fruit, thereby increasing Madara's own chakra strength, and making 6 paths Madara even more powerful. There's also the idea of training the body and soul to increase the strength of one's physical and mental energy, thereby increasing chakra strength. This is also a great idea. After all, chakra is a power that comes from within and cannot be weakened by the forces of heaven and earth, requiring retraining. PS2, the update I owed yesterday will be in the next chapter. I've been busy these past few days, so I can only update the basics at 4,000 words. I promise to make up for it. It's the weekend before the book goes on sale, so I'll have at least 10 updates and 20,000 words by the time it's released. Chapter 95 Heading to Canon College. Following a lushly tree-lined Lois Road, Uchiha Madara arrived at a small town. Stopping at the town gate, he looked up at the plaque above. The name on it was plain and vulgar, Peace Town. In the chaotic Blackhorn region, the town's name was Peace Town. This was likely due to the fact that Peace Town was backed by Canon Academy, otherwise, the Blackhorn region's thugs would have torn the plaque down the next day. Entering the town, a massive pitch black tree greeted him. Its canopy stretched out in all directions, its fangs bared, its claws bared, and in the fading light, it exuded a faint chill. Madara's gaze swept over the tree, revealing corpses nestled among its branches. The gentle breeze rustled them, making a chilling, creaking sound. This was the death tree. In the Blackhorn region, the reputation of this death tree had reached a level of terror that was almost unspeakable. Many who spent years in the Blackhorn region will never forget the bloody desperate battle between the Blackhorn region and Canon Academy. The exact causes of that bloody battle are largely unknown, but the only known fact is that afterward, the bodies of 2 Dou Huang and 1 Dou Huang were cruelly impaled on the dead tree. Since then, the area surrounding Canon Academy has fallen into a tranquility incongruous with the outside world. No Blackhorn region warriors dared to enter these small towns with murderous intent on their faces. Even if there were occasional disturbances, the perpetrators would be found impaled on the dead tree within an hour. Madara withdrew his gaze and continued walking forward. It was just a tactic to scare the monkeys, nothing surprising. But this time, Madara had barely taken a few steps when a dozen figures leaped from the rooftops like nimble monkeys, flashing towards the town gate. A moment later, a dozen figures appeared at the town's gate. Uchiha Madara's gaze flashed past. The middle-aged man in the lead said calmly, anyone entering Hepping Town must declare their identity and name, or they will be expelled. Uchiha Madara's gaze was calm as he scanned the dozen figures. Aside from the middle-aged leader, the others were young men, wearing pale blue robes with a red dagger, carved on the chest. These individuals were presumably responsible for this task. At this moment, the dozen figures looked at Uchiha Madara with a hint of repulsion. And after you've declared your identity, take this elixir. The middle-aged man waved his hand, and a bottle of pale red elixir appeared in his hand. He glanced casually at Uchiha Madara and said coldly, don't worry, this is not a poison, it's just a kind of elixir that senses murderous aura made by the Academy's alchemy department. If you harbor murderous intentions in this town, this elixir will emit a red light from your body, and our law enforcement team will follow the red light to find you. And you should also know how Canon Academy deals with those who bring the Blackhorn region's culture here. When you plan to leave the town, you can go to the antidote distribution point in the town center to get the antidote. But once you get the antidote, the law enforcement team will supervise you all the way out of the town. Uchiha Madara's expression did not change, but the dozen or so young men and women drew out the long swords worn at their waists with a clang, and different colors of fighting spirit emanated from their bodies, as if they were ready to fight if they disagreed. The rules of Hepping Town have always been like this. If you don't want to, then don't enter. Entering would be against the rules, and the nearby dead spirit tree might even have more objects hanging on it, the middle-aged man said indifferently, his hands behind his back. As he finished speaking, a powerful aura slowly emanated from him. The middle-aged man sensed a unique aura in Madara, as well as a Dou Qi realm he couldn't fathom, and knew he was no simple figure. However, with the support of Canon Academy, the middle-aged man feared nothing. So what if he refuses to take your elixir? Uchiha Madara's voice rang out indifferently. Madara naturally understood the purpose of the Canon Academy's elixir. If he possessed it, he would force anyone who entered his sphere of influence to take it. However, understanding was one thing. Given Madara's personality, getting him to take the elixir was clearly impossible. Then we won't be polite to you, the leading middle-aged man said. He had seen many such people before, and was not surprised. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly, and the aura of a 3-star Dou Huang erupted. Fueled by the advanced earth rank burning technique and the 4 kinds of strange fire, Madara's current aura rivaled that of a peak Dou Huang. Call your supervisor. Is Mang Shan Kai here? You'd better call him. Uchiha Madara's cold voice rang out. A Dou Huang, and judging by the aura he unleashed, no ordinary Dou Huang. Upon realizing this, the leading middle-aged man's expression suddenly changed. He himself was only at the Dou Qi realm of a 7-star Grand Dou Master. The gap between him and a Dou Huang was a world of difference. Such a powerful individual was beyond his ability to handle. Fortunately, someone at Canon Academy had anticipated this possibility and established a code of conduct. The middle-aged man pulled out a map and handed it to Uchiha Madara. You're strong, and we are no match for you, but the might of Canon Academy is beyond your imagination. From Hepping Town, across the Primeval Forest, lies Canon City, home to Canon Academy. If you have the courage, then go ahead. The middle-aged man said, yes, the code of conduct is that simple. Just let the people in, and let the experts at Canon Academy handle it. That's sensible. Uchiha Madara snatched the map and headed towards Canon City. Madara stopped provoking the men. It's true that Madara is determined to achieve his goals, and it's also true that he can be ruthless and decisive. However, at heart, Madara is a kind person, and he wouldn't act without judgment. Seeing the peace that Canon Academy maintains, Madara remembered the Konoha village he and Hashirama had founded to maintain it, remembered Izuna, and remembered his past self. So, Madara left immediately. Behind him, the middle-aged leader was drenched in sweat. For a great Dou Qi to deal with a true Dou Huang, the psychological pressure was unimaginable to most people. The other dozen or so young men didn't directly confront Uchiha Madara, but they weren't much better off, feeling a momentary dread. Immediately. Report this information to the Academy immediately. P.S. For the Easter egg chapter, you need to submit it. Probably just post it in the fan circle and link it. If you submit it, there should be a coin reward and the title of Fan Master. Just post it, and I'll give you a chance. If you post it in my Easter egg chapter solicitation thread, I'll have to submit the pictures myself, and there won't be any coin or title rewards. And the problem is, I might be a bit lazy, so those who want the coin reward, the title of Fan Master, and the Easter egg chapter can post it directly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96 Shallow Thoughts. Uchiha Madara soared through the vast sky, his four-colored Dou Qi wings spread wide behind him as he soared toward a vast city below. This city was Canon City, the headquarters of Canon Academy. In sheer scale, it rivaled even the Gamma Empire's capital, the Gamma Empire. Slowly descending, a wide, bluestone-paved street appeared before him, and Uchiha Madara walked straight ahead. Canon Academy lay in the very heart of Canon City. As long as Madara walked straight ahead, he would reach Canon Academy. Canon Academy. In a quiet room filled with bookshelves, 7 or 8 elders sat at chairs around a round table. These elders held high status and position, otherwise, they wouldn't be qualified to sit in the meeting room where all matters within the academy were decided. Have you seen the intelligence? This powerful man named Uchiha Madara first single-handedly annihilated the snake people in the Gamma Empire's Tagor Desert, then crushed the former Yunlan Sect leader, Yunshan, a Daozang master, in the Yunlan Sect, and then pursued the Soul Palace's Daozang guardians like a lost dog. Xiao Yan, the Grand Elder of the Canon Academy in a court, put down a document and surveyed the room. Not only that, I have information. The powerful force that erupted in Fengcheng a few days ago was most likely sourced from this Uchiha Madara. Furthermore, since that battle, the soul lamps of the 7 strongest individuals in the top 10 of the blacklist elders Jin and Yin, Hanfeng, Madara, Fan Lao, Yan, and Yuan Yi have all been extinguished. Unless something unexpected happens, they all perished at the hands of Uchiha Madara, added Hukayan, the vice dean of the Canon Academy outer court. Based on our 2 perceptions, this Uchiha Madara is likely a Daozan, and his goal is likely to be the Strange Fire. A very covered intelligence source of ours has discovered that Hanfeng, the Lord of Maple City, possesses the Strange Fire Sea Heart Flame, ranked 16th on the Strange Fire list. This explains why this Uchiha Madara is traveling to Maple City, said Kan Mu, one of the 1102 elders. And if this Uchiha Madara is after the Strange Fire, then he's likely targeting the fallen heart flame within our Canon Academy in a courtyard. If we activate the protective formation, the 2 of us combined could barely rival a Daozan, but that depends on the true strength of this Uchiha Madara, said Bailai, one of the 1102 elders. At this time, an elder presented another piece of intelligence. He was the person in charge of intelligence liaison between Canon Academy and all the towns surrounding Canon City. Maybe those 2 words can be removed. The Hepping Town Law Enforcement Team has word that a Dou Huang master has forced his way in without taking any elixirs. Judging by his appearance, he's Uchiha Madara. Given the transmission time of the information and the flying speed of a Dou Huang master, this Uchiha Madara should have arrived in Hepping Town by now. Upon hearing this, the others' faces grew solemn. They exchanged glances and quickly sprang into action. Since Uchiha Madara had already entered, they had to act now. Although the intelligence indicated that Uchiha Madara was only a Dou Huang master, the power he unleashed that day in Maple City showed that he possessed a formidable hidden weapon, possessing Daozan level power. With the destructive power of a Daozan master, even a short period of time would likely inflict significant damage on Canon Academy. At this moment, Uchiha Madara was only a step away from Canon Academy, having already reached the gate of its outer courtyard. Gazing towards the entrance, they saw a woman in green saying goodbye to an old man in a black robe. Uchiha Madara raised a brow. This black-robed old man, why did he feel familiar? Was it Ling Ying, the ancient clan servant who had been captured accompanying Xiao Yan that day? Just as he was about to approach, he spotted a figure cloaked in blood-red robes swiftly charging towards the woman in green. A bloody scent permeated the air as the figure moved. Uchiha Madara raised a brow and followed suit. Even Madara enjoyed watching the excitement. Masterling, the experts from Canon Academy have been quite active lately. it would be best for you to stay elsewhere in Cannon City. Otherwise, it would worsen the relationship between us and Cannon Academy, which would be bad," the green-clad woman said gently and serenely. This woman in green was, of course, Xiao, the heroine of Battle Through the Heavens. As an 8-star Dou Huang, Ling Ying couldn't stay by her side and protect her constantly at Cannon Academy. That would be a provocation to the school. Alright, young lady, with your strength, you should be unmatched in the outer court of Cannon Academy. However, please give your return a second thought, Ling Ying said. I understand, Master Ling, Xiao said with a hint of resignation in her eyes. However, she also knew that Ling Ying was frightened by the Daozun expert. If she were facing a Daozun expert head-on, she would probably want to flee immediately. Zuna. At that moment, the figure in the blood-red robe approached the two of them. Xiao frowned upon seeing him. The young man in the blood-red robe was named Wu Hao, one of the most powerful men in the outer court. He was a representative of the Cannon Academy law enforcement team, and at least 36 Blackhorn Territory individuals had perished at his hands. Furthermore, Wu Hao was Xiao's suitor. However, Xiao, already in love, could never accept Wu Hao's advances. Therefore, this young man, Wu Hao, troubled Xiao greatly. Wu Hao, what's the matter? Although she was in a bad mood, Xiao still responded politely with good manners. The inner court trials are about to begin, and Xiao Yan hasn't come yet? You've already waited 2 years for him. Are you still going to wait any longer? Wu Hao asked. Whether brother Xiao Yan comes or not is his business. I believe he will come. What does it have to do with you? Xiao said, slightly annoyed. As she said, what does this have to do with Wu Hao? A cold voice echoed. Boy, at your age, liking this kind of thing is just a temporary thought. Blinded by this girl's glitz, you'll soon realize the shallowness of your words. For a man, the most important thing is to constantly improve his strength. The voice came from, naturally, Uchiha Madara. Upon hearing this, Wu Hao, Xiao, and Ling Ying all turned to look at Uchiha Madara. Wu Hao and Xiao's eyes were filled with confusion, as if wondering who this person was and why he had gotten involved. Ling Ying, on the other hand, was horrified. Chapter 97, Heart Surging. Who are you? The young man, Wu Hao, frowned, his face etched with displeasure. At Wu Hao's age, he was full of pride and surging hormones. How could he possibly be persuaded by a single word from Madara? Instead, he acted like a know-it-all and began questioning Madara. Unlike the uninformed Wu Hao, Ling Ying understood the situation much better. Mr. Madara, why are you here? Ling Ying asked with a smile. A Daozun master, without the Mengshan Kai, no one could stop him in this remote place. Madara ignored the childish Wu Hao. He insisted on falling in love when he should be focusing on self-improvement, ultimately ending up with nothing. Why can't I be here? Uchiha Madara calmly retorted. This question stumped Ling Ying, who could only scratch his head, unsure what to say. Hello, Senior Madara, I'm Gazuna of the Ancient Clan. You can just call me Zuna, Xiao said politely, stepping in to help Ling Ying out. Xiao was quite perceptive. She knew full well that a Daozun master was simply no match for her. I heard that from Xiao Yan, Ban said nonchalantly, clearly unconcerned about Xiao's status as a princess of the ancient clan. Let me ask you, do you know where the strange fires in Cannon Academy are? I've come here for them, Ban asked bluntly. Senior Ban, I don't know about that. A glint of surprise flashed in Xiao's eyes, and she shook her head. To be fair, Xiao had a certain degree of panic upon hearing that Uchiha Madara had come for the strange fires. After all, she possessed the Golden Emperor Burning Heaven Flame, ranked 4th on the strange fire rankings. She wondered if her ancient clan's protection could withstand the scrutiny of this Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara noticed Xiao's change of heart, but didn't dwell on it. Madara was a man of clear goals. When he was focused on a single task, his concentration was intense, so intense that nothing else mattered to him. She doesn't know, but do you? Uchiha Madara looked at Ling Ying. Ling Ying, recovering slightly, shook her head as well. I don't know either. Then is Cannon Academy's dean, Mang Xianqi, currently at Cannon Academy? Uchiha Madara asked. The impression Mang Xianqi had left on Uchiha Madara at the demonic beast mountain range was truly profound. It's no exaggeration to say that Mang Xianqi was the only powerful individual since Uchiha Madara arrived in this world who had ever made him feel powerless. Without mastering spatial power at the time, even if Madara wanted to pursue Mang Xianqi, he couldn't. While Madara didn't say anything about this, he was deeply concerned. He would seek revenge sooner or later. "Sir, what do you want from Ardeen?" Several elders who had been in the conference room appeared in the sky, led by Inner Court Great Elder Sukayan, Elder Kayan Bey and Second Elder Kayan Bey, and Outer Court Vice Dean Hukayan, stood behind Sukayan and shouted, "Are you the top leaders of Canon Academy?" Uchiha Madara's attention was drawn to these individuals. He didn't fancy Hukayan, a peak Dou Huang, but Sukayan, a 2-star Dou Zhang, and Elder Kayan Bey, both peak Dou Zhang, were quite impressive. Indeed, Sukayan replied. "The fallen heart flame is in your hands, right? I'm here today to take it. Without the Mangshan ruler, do you still want to continue resisting?" Madara said, his hands behind his back. A powerful aura slowly rose from him, overwhelming Sukayan and the others with a sense of oppression. Elder Kayan Bey and Elder Kayan Bey exchanged a glance and took a step forward. Their powerful auras, combined with the Canon Academy's formations, barely managed to withstand Uchiha Madara's overwhelming force. Everyone around him sensed something was amiss. Whether it was Xiaozuna, Ling Ying, Wu Heo from the law enforcement team, or anyone else outside the Canon Academy gates, they instinctively began to move away. "No matter what, we will defend Canon Academy to the death." Sukayan, Hukayan, the two elders Kayan Bey, and the others shouted simultaneously. Countless Canon Academy students now converged on this area, standing behind them, gazing at them from afar. Uchiha Madara was a little dazed. This unwavering sense of protection reminded him of his youth, when he stood before Uchiha Raizuna without hesitation, facing the attack of Senju Butsuma. Sadly, he would never see Izuna again. Izuna was dead. No. Suddenly, a thought struck Madara, and his previously dazed eyes brightened. His range of activities was no longer limited to the ninja realm. He could travel to various worlds. For example, in the Dou Qi continent, Yao Leo's soul could be resurrected by reshaping his body. If he returned to the ninja realm and found Izuna's soul, could he also resurrect her? At this thought, the light in Uchiha Madara's eyes grew brighter, and his heart surged with excitement. That's right, he could resurrect Izuna. Ha ha ha. Uchiha Madara couldn't help but burst into laughter at the thought. He was truly thrilled. He had been thinking about this for decades. The crowd around him stared at the laughing Uchiha Madara, confused as to what was happening. The expressions of Sukayan and the others from Canon Academy grew increasingly solemn, seemingly unconcerned. "Originally, I came to your Canon Academy for two reasons. One was to fight and defeat Mang Xianqi, and the other was to obtain the fallen heart flame. But now that Mang Xianqi is gone, using all my strength against you would be a bit too much of a bully. I will only use the power of Dou Qi, not my chakra. I hope you can protect your Canon Academy. Come fight in the mountains if you don't want the entire Canon Academy to be affected." With that, a pair of 4-colored Dou Qi wings appeared behind Uchiha Madara, and he flew towards a mountain range outside Canon Academy. Uchiha Madara's actions were certainly not because he was afraid of the Canon Academy's formation. Madara's attitudes towards Canon Academy in the Blackhorn territory were completely different. There was no sympathy for the people of the Blackhorn territory. The law of the jungle prevailed, and since they were the beneficiaries, they must be prepared for destruction. But the people of Canon Academy were different. They existed to protect the students at Canon Academy who had yet to grow up. This approach was similar to how he and Hashirama established Konoha village, to protect the children of their respective families who had yet to grow up. Uchiha Madara greatly admired this approach. Because of this admiration, Madara did not want to destroy it. Sukayan and the others exchanged a glance. A peak Dou Huang level player, Hukayan, remained, and then Sukayan, Kayan Bey and the other 3 Dou Zhang powerhouses all flew over with Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara's approach was exactly what they wanted. A fight at the gates of Canon Academy would undoubtedly be disastrous for the school. P.S. I definitely have to return to the Naruto world, but I haven't decided on a specific timeline yet. I'm thinking of either the conclusion of Duppo or the end of the entire book. The difference between the two isn't huge, as both are unrivaled in the ninja world. I personally prefer the latter, so that I can give the painting a perfect ending. Then, when I return to Naruto, besides completing the infinite Tsukuyo Mikao of Black Zetsu, resurrecting Uchiha Raizuna and Senju Hashirama, and beating up Otsutsuki Aishiki, Momoshiki, and Urashiki, is there anything else I can do? Can you help me think about it? Chapter 98. The collision begins. After Uchiha Madara and the 3 powerful Canon Academy members flew away, the remaining individuals had varying reactions. Miss, hurry back to the ancient clan. It'll be too late if you don't. What if Uchiha Madara discovers you have the Golden Emperor burning heaven flame? Ling Yang asked anxiously. Facing a Daozun in such a small place was incredibly oppressive. Xiaozuna was clearly still hesitant. Although she had appeared relatively calm during her earlier encounter with Uchiha Madara, that was only superficial. With only Ling Yang, an 8-star Dou Huang, and no other powerful ancient clan members around, Xiaozuna had absolutely no bargaining power with Uchiha Madara, and she felt a touch of anxiety. However, Xiaozuna's feelings for Xiao Yan were genuine. After over a decade of intense contact, and at the age of 17 or 18, a girl's love consciousness was perfectly natural. Xiaozuna simply couldn't let go of Xiao Yan. Master Ling, wait a moment. After the Yunlan Sect matter is completed, Brother Xiao Yan should be arriving at Canon Academy soon. Besides, I don't think that Senior Ban is some wicked villain. After a moment's hesitation, Xiaozuna finally made her decision, her emotions overcoming her rationality. Ling Yang couldn't help but sigh. This wasn't the first time. They had originally come to the Xiao family to retrieve the Tuosh ancient Emperor Jade, but now Xiaozuna was completely on Xiao Yan's side. What should we do? Xiao Yan, oh Xiao Yan, please hurry up. I can send the young lady back when you come. The hot-blooded young man Wu Heo was also a little confused. He had thought the handsome white-haired man who spoke to him was just good looking, but he hadn't expected him to be a supremely powerful being. He didn't recognize many of the Canon Academy representatives. The only one he knew, Hukayan, the vice dean of their outer court, had been left behind, without even a chance to participate in the battle. After all, their vice dean Hukayan was a peak Dou Huang powerhouse. A peak Dou Huang powerhouse didn't even get a chance to join the battle. Oh my god, this is too terrifying. Recognizing Uchiha Madara's strength, Wu Heo couldn't help but seriously consider what he'd just said, debating whether he needed to continue pursuing Xiaozuna. People, especially competitive adolescents, are like that. They need someone with sufficient authority and power, speaking from a position of absolute superiority, to truly listen. Otherwise, they'll likely refuse to turn back until they hit a wall. A mountain range outside Canon Academy. Uchiha Madara stood opposite Sukayan, Kyan Mu, and Beilai. A massive tangible Uchiha fan, composed of cyan, black, blue, and white flames, appeared in Madara's hand. The power of the 4 different flames surged forth, their aura soaring into the sky. 4 different fires, truly an astonishing power. Great Elder Sukayan exclaimed in shock upon witnessing this scene. This Uchiha Madara was indeed more than he appeared. These 4 different fires alone were beyond the reach of a Dou Huang. Elder Kyan, Elder Bei, I'll go meet him first. Though startled, Great Elder Sukayan remained calm. A powerful stream of Dou Qi instantly lashed out at Uchiha Madara, pouncing on him like a swift snake. Kyan Mu and Bailey nodded, but made no move. However, they formed hand seals and secretly used spatial force to test Uchiha Madara. The spatial force, though late, arrived first, causing the space around Uchiha Madara to ripple slightly. With a wave of his left hand, the space returned to its original state. Elders Kyan and Bei's spatial power was still very superficial, not even comparable to that of the Soul Palace's Daozun. Kyan Mu and Bei's hearts sank, but judging by this spatial force, Uchiha Madara was undefeated. They were both 9-star Daozans, and while they possessed spatial power, the gap between them and a Daozun was still vast. In this battle, it was undeniable that, if Uchiha Madara attempted to use spatial teleportation to escape the battlefield, they would be powerless to stop him. Madara stared at the incoming stream of Dou Qi, his eyes fixed. He swung his four-colored Uchiha fan forward, shattering it with a single blow. The next moment, he activated his spatial power, and within a few flashes, Madara was in front of Xiao. The fan slashed down from above, like a massive mountain falling from thin air. Direct spatial teleportation? Such swift speed. Xiao's expression was solemn. He gazed at the massive black shadow overhead, sensing the immense power it held. He quickly formed several hand seals, and a massive hand seal instantly launched upward. The massive hand seal collided with the four-colored Uchiha fan, sending a vast cloud of dust scattering in all directions. A powerful shockwave erupted, sending Xiao reeling back. It was clear that Madara was far more powerful. Madara was slightly surprised. Could he now overpower a Dou Huang with his Dou Qi? Sure enough, there was a difference between a 3-star Dou Huang and a 5-star Dou Huang. While there's a difference in strength between Xiao and Yunshan, whom he faced that day, the difference isn't significant. Back then, at the 5-star Dou Huang level, the damage he inflicted with the Indra Flower was limited. Now, in close combat, he's capable of suppressing Dou Huang. This isn't hard to understand. What's happening with Madara now? His burning technique is at the advanced earth rank, and his Dou Qi is laced with the power of the 4 different fires, giving him a significant advantage in overcoming opponents of higher rank. Furthermore, Madara still possesses the physique of the 6 paths mode. While Madara lacks the power of chakra, his physical fitness isn't diminished by the absence of chakra. Although his Dou Qi realm is only at the 3-star Dou Huang level, this is still a dimensional strike. The 2 elders, Kai and Bei, saw the situation was dire and instantly teleported, one on the left and one on the right, to stand behind the great elder Xiao, halting his retreat. Leave it to us next. Xiao frowned slightly, but nodded. He could sense that Uchiha Madara's Dou Qi was indeed at the 3-star Dou Huang realm, but during their actual clash, Uchiha Madara's Dou Qi concentration and strength were no less impressive. Was it due to the tempering of the 4 exotic fires? The gap between Dou Huang and Dou Huang was still significant, but mastering the 4 exotic fires could wield such formidable power. However, Uchiha Madara's Dou Qi concentration and strength were only comparable to his own. Compared to Elder Kai and Elder Bei, whose Dou Qi was at the peak of Dou Huang, he was still far behind. Chapter 99. Thousands of Elders. Madara nodded slightly as he watched Xiao retreat, and 2 peak Dou Huang masters, Kai Mu and Bailey, approach. A substitution? It was indeed time for one. A Dou Huang like Xiao couldn't put enough pressure on him, nor could he enjoy the thrill of battle. Without mocking Xiao's substitution, Madara resorted to his usual tactics, his spatial force pulsing and flickering several times. He grasped the 4-colored Uchiha fan in his hand, and swung it at the 2. Such was Madara's nature. When facing multiple enemies, he welcomed the stronger ones replacing the weaker ones, taking on whoever came next. Just like in the original Naruto, when Might Gaira placed Hatake Kakashi in Namikaze Minato, Madara excitedly engaged him in combat. Kai Mu and Bailey worked in perfect harmony, simultaneously forming hand seals on their hands. 2 powerful streams of Dou Qi launched from 2 directions towards Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara tumbled mid-flight, his Uchiha fan standing upright on the ground. Madara himself, holding the fan in both hands, stood upside down in the air. 2 streams of Dou Qi pierced the fan, a sharp sound. Madara's expression remained unchanged as he channeled the power of his Dou Qi into the fan. The white light instantly grew dazzling and brilliant. A few syllables emanated from Madara's mouth, and then the 2 streams of Dou Qi hurled themselves at Chiki and Bailey at an even faster pace. An Uchiha rebound. Chiki and Bailey's pupils shrank, evidently seldom facing attacks like the Uchiha rebound. After a slight flicker of space, they vanished from their original position, dodging the 2 streams of Dou Qi. When they reappeared, the 2 streams of Dou Qi struck the ground, creating 2 massive craters. Chiki, be careful, Bailey shouted. Just as the 2 men reappeared using spatial power, Uchiha Madara also reappeared behind Chiki, wielding his Uchiha fan with overwhelming force. Chiki's expression changed as immense fighting spirit erupted from within. A green light enveloped his fists, and they roared out, charging at Uchiha Madara like 2 fierce tigers. Sky-shattering fist. A low-level earth rank fighting technique. It was Chiki's mastered close-range attack. At such close range, Sky Shattering Fist was at its most powerful, requiring the most swift reflexes. Uchiha Madara, brandishing his massive Uchiha fan, met Chiki's Sky Shattering Fist head on. White light erupted, sending both men reeling back from the shockwave. Chiki gritted his teeth, looking down at his knuckles, which were painful from the blow. Uchiha Madara dusted himself off, frowning slightly. With his Six Paths mode physique, only intense spatial forces and massive Dou Qi could harm him. This was why, in his recent clash with Chiki, he remained unscathed, unable to experience the joy of battle. With this thought, Uchiha Madara exited Six Paths mode. His long white hair and white sage robes turned completely black. The sage staff and 9 pitch black truth-seeking jades vanished, leaving Madara in a sleek black and gold ensemble. Madara flexed his limbs, purple ripples of the Rinnegan shimmering in his eyes. This felt better. Chiki and Bailey were keenly aware of Madara's changes. While they didn't know the exact nature of the changes, they could clearly sense that the oppressive feeling he had felt had diminished considerably. With a tentative intention, Chiki teleported behind Madara, his Dou Qi erupting, unleashing his heaven-shattering fist once again, unleashing a powerful blow. Madara acted quickly, withdrawing and thrusting his Uchiha fan forward. However, in a nearly identical clash, Uchiha Madara was clearly at a disadvantage, retreating several steps further than Kyan Mu. This wasn't surprising. After exiting Six Paths mode, Uchiha Madara's physical prowess was only sufficient to crush a 6th tier monster. While his Dou Qi, enhanced by the Earth tier advanced burning technique and the power of the 4 different fires, rivaled that of Sukian, a 2-star Daozang, by a major stage. This strength was certainly insufficient for the 2 elders, Kyan Bailey and Bailai, who had honed their skills at the peak of Daozang for decades, and possessed no weaknesses in either physical fitness or Dou Qi. Sensing this, Kyan Mu and Bailai exchanged a glance, and launched a fierce attack on Uchiha Madara. Powerful Dou Qi streams pelted towards him like a surging tide. Madara's eyes darted rapidly, his powerful dynamic vision supporting him as he swung his 4-colored Uchiha fan dozens of times, blocking the incoming Dou Qi streams. A closer look at Madara's expression revealed a shift from complete coldness to a faint smile. Such a high-intensity battle, one that would put him under considerable pressure, clearly suited Madara's aspirations. Having gained the upper hand, Elder Kyan Bei and Elder began to persuade Uchiha Madara. While both sides were exerting considerable strength, they were still in the exploratory phase, and Elder Kyan Bei and Elder believed a discussion was possible. Sir, I don't know how you learned about the fallen heart flame of our Canon Academy. We will not conceal the truth. Our Canon Academy does possess the fallen heart flame. However, sir, you already possess 4 different fires. You should be well aware of the difficulty of acquiring another. Furthermore, even if you are confident that you can tame the fallen heart flame of our Canon Academy, Ardin Mang Xianqi is a semi-saint. As a Daozun, you should be well aware of the true power of a semi-saint. It would be best for you to withdraw your efforts. This way, you will earn the friendship of Canon Academy, Elder Kyan Bei and Elder said. A semi-saint. So that old man was a semi-saint. It's just right that he came to me. I still have a fight to fight with him, Uchiha Madara replied. Elder Kyan Bei felt a little frustrated. He had originally intended to use the Mangshan ruler to suppress Uchiha Madara, but it only provoked him further. Your Excellency is a Daozun. After all, we too know we can't defeat you, but if you don't use your full strength now, don't blame us for being ruthless. The Fallen Heart Flame is the foundation of Canon Academy. It is because of it that Canon Academy's students can rapidly cultivate and grow. Although the old dean left behind a spare container for the Fallen Heart Flame, we will not accept it, Elder Kyan Bei said. Come, let's decide the outcome in one move. If you can survive this move, I will take the strange fire and solve your problem. PS1. In the original novel, Xiao Yan used the spare container after taking the Fallen Heart Flame. This shows that even when faced with an absolute advantage, Canon Academy is not insulated from compromise. PS2. Madara resolved the issue because he harbored a fondness for Canon Academy, a place that reminded him of his past and that he was dedicated to protecting. As I mentioned earlier, Canon Academy and the Blackhorn territory are different for Madara. One is a place of righteousness, the other a terrorist force. Madara is fundamentally kind, and he's determined to achieve his goals, but he's not an unreasonable tyrannical person. I know there will be nitpickers who will bring this up and call it licking. Any author who makes such a claim will automatically be deemed to have erroneous values and be subject to review deletion and posting bans, lest they mislead minors. PS3, recommended. You guys are truly amazing. Chapter 104 Colored in Reflower. Uchiha Madara spoke, and instantly, a tremendous Dou Qi surged from his body, and 4 fiercely burning strange fires appeared in the air. The terrifying combined heat of the 4 fires seemed to distort the entire space, and billowing waves of heat rippled outwards, creating a terrifying scene. Elder Kayonbei's face was solemn. The power of 4 strange fires, this was no joke. What was Uchiha Madara planning to do? Unleashing all 4 strange fires simultaneously? Was he trying to fuse them together, unleashing an unstoppable attack? Could such a thing truly be accomplished? How could something as intense and fierce as strange fires possibly fuse together? Let alone 4 different fires? Even the fusion of 2 seemed completely unrealistic to Elder Kayonbei. Elder Kayonbei formed hand seals one after another, and the immense Dou Qi power formed one defensive barrier after another in front of the 2 men. Although the 1,000 and 100 elders didn't believe Uchiha Madara could successfully fuse the strange fires, the combined energies of the 4 fires, even the chaotic intertwining of forces, were extremely terrifying, and they had to proceed with caution. The reason they chose to leave without using spatial force was, firstly, because Uchiha Madara's spatial power surpassed theirs, preventing them from leaving. Furthermore, Uchiha Madara had suppressed their own strength. If they still lacked confidence in themselves, it would be unforgivable. Secondly, they wanted to see if Uchiha Madara could truly achieve such an incredible feat as fusing the power of 4 strange fires. At that moment, Uchiha Madara gazed at the 4 strange fires before him. Without the slightest hesitation, his mind moved, and his palms danced, creating after images. Amaterasu Flame, Blue Lotus Earth Heart Fire, Bone Spirit Cold Fire, and Ocean Heart Flame. Under Uchiha Madara's control, the 4 powerful, but distinct strange fires collided directly. The Dou Qi energy between heaven and earth suddenly erupted, and a powerful aura that shocked even peak Daozang masters like the 1,000 and 100 elders slowly emanated. The 2 elders exchanged glances, their eyes filled with disbelief. In their perception, Uchiha Madara's Dou Qi realm was undoubtedly Dou Huang 3 stars. His Dou Qi concentration, likely due to the advanced cultivation techniques and the tempering of the strange fire, had barely reached the level of a low star Daozang. But now, despite being at the level of a low star Daozang, the power he unleashed was undoubtedly greater than that of a peak Daozang. They believed him to be a low star Daozang. This kind of leaping across 2 realms was not unheard of among Daoshi, Grand Daoshi, or even Daoling. After all, the gap between realms was still minimal to them back then. But now, Uchiha Madara had leaped from a low star Dou Huang to a low star Daozang, a feat they had never imagined. The 2 elders gazed at the terrifying 4-colored flower slowly stabilizing and forming in Uchiha Madara's hands. By fusing 4 different fires, possibly the most powerful fire control ability in the Dou Qi continent, Uchiha Madara had accomplished something they hadn't even imagined. Uchiha Madara slowly exhaled, and the 4-colored Indra flower in his hand finally took shape. Madara hadn't utilized the power of Kagutsuchi to condense this Indra flower, so its formation proved extremely challenging for him. Within the 10-tail sealed space, Madara's countless shadow clones undertook 2 required courses, strengthening their alchemy skills and practicing their fire control. It could be said that today's Indra flower was the product of countless shadow clone blasts. Condensed within it was not only destructive power, but also the true improvement in his fire control abilities since arriving on the Dou Qi continent. At this point, Madara was able to condense this Indra flower solely through his own fire control, without the aid of Kagutsuchi, a 4-colored Indra flower. Uchiha Madara tossed the Indra flower toward the 1,002 elders. Vast destructive force swirled and reverberated in the sky, and a single streak of flame struck the 1,002 elders. Wherever this terrifying flame passed, the void of space was ripped apart, a pitch black rift in a sea of inferno. Use all your strength. Unleash your secret techniques. No holding back. The 2 elders shouted simultaneously. With this destructive force, they risked their lives. They took a deep breath, and a fierce light emanated from their bodies. Countless waves of Dou Qi erupted from their bodies, transforming into a vast white wall of light, over 10 feet tall and several meters thick. They were now using secret techniques to unleash even more Dou Qi, a desperate struggle. 2 powerful waves of Dou Qi, one attacking, one defending, radiated in all directions, forcing the Grand Elder of the Canon Academy Inner Court to retreat, even to a more distant location. Even at the level of a two-star Daozang, he felt he could not withstand the aftermath of the collision. The 4-colored Indra flower streaked across the sky, arriving as expected, crashing into the white wall of light. The impact was like a massive meteorite crashing across countless distances to the ground. A devastating sound. Boom. A vast iridescent wave of flame, hundreds of feet wide, swept across the sky. Everything around them vanished in an instant, leaving not even ash. The vast expanse of land was completely charred, flat and devoid of anything else. This wasn't the end, this was only the initial collision. After this initial collision, the power of the 4-colored Indra flower erupted unchecked, a dazzling, iridescent column of light piercing the sky, visible even 100 miles away. Sukan halted his retreat and gazed from afar at the center of the explosion. At this moment, both Uchiha Madara and the 2 elders were enveloped in the dazzling light, and the outcome was uncertain. So, what was the current situation for both sides? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.